and then we'll dive right into workshop topic being new changes to SECRA laws.
Yes.
Hot topic.
Hot
Everybody's
topic.
talking about it.
There's a lot happening with SECRA this month. Exciting stuff.
I think we willed it to happen because at the last meeting when we did the training, we talked
Yeah.
about there can be changes to what's on the type 2 list.
Exactly. So I think Kathy Hochul was listening to us.
Yeah, I guess.
So I'll kick it off. Natalie and I are kind of going to share this presentation, and we'll kind of feed off each other, I guess. Natalie was kind enough to prepare a PowerPoint presentation, and it tracks a lot of the content of the legal alert that my office put out that I circulated to the board members and staff and consultants, I guess it was last week or the week before, that outlined the amendments to the environmental conservation law that were in the budget bill that was passed recently. So I just want to start off the conversation with just kind of giving a little bit of framework for what the budget bill did. So we have the environmental conservation law, which is a New York State statute that gives sort of some of the framework for what we know of as SECRA, which are the regulations that are promulgated by New York State DEC. So a little bit of, Civics 101, remembering back to your social studies class from high school. We've got statutes adopted by the legislature, and then the agencies are responsible for implementing the mandates of those statutes, and they do that through promulgating regulations. And again, that's the Part 617 that we commonly refer to as SECRA. So the budget bill made amendments to the statute itself, the environmental conservation law. It did not amend the regulations that were promulgated by DEC, known as SECRA. And we'll go through some of what those amendments are. I also, at the end, want to touch on something that we talked about back at the December training session in 2025, which are amendments that were being considered by New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, DEC, to the regulations themselves. And we talked about those being in the context of environmental justice, impact review when you're conducting your SECRA review. So those actual amendments to the regulations were adopted by DEC in the spring, in I believe it was April, and they become effective this week. So we'll touch on that a little bit at the end.
I mean, just to clarify your statement though, so even though they were adopted by the legislature and not yet folded into the regulations, they still take effect immediately.
They have the force of law and take effect immediately.
Yep.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so we'll go through, there's kind of 4 buckets of where the changes fall, and that's kind of how Jennifer's firm's memo was broken down. So the biggest changes is in terms of additions to the exemptions, right? So last week, or last month when we were going over the SECRA 101, we kind of talked about type 1 classification, type 2, and then everything else in between is unlisted. So type 2 are the things that are exempt from SECRA review. They do not have to go through the environmental review process as regulated by the state. And so there's been some major kind of additions to those. So the first slide, not immediately applicable to us, but this one is specifically with regards to construction of housing in New York City. So basically the state has decided that certain housing projects, and this is kind of supporting the state housing goals of increasing the production of housing throughout the state. They've decided that construction of housing in New York City, is this first segment, is exempt from SECRA review if it is connected to community or public water or sewer systems that already exist or will exist at the time of habitation of that structure, is in a previously disturbed site. So we're going to get into that because that's a new definition that was added, so we'll talk about that. It's not located in an area zoned for industrial use, is no more than 5,000 square feet of a non-residential use, such as commercial, retail, or community facilities, and has a maximum of 50,000. What did I say? 50,000. Maximum of 250 dwelling units. Or, and I don't know if Jen, you have more clarity to this, 500 dwelling units if certain height regulations apply. I'm not as familiar with New York State zoning, so I'm sure that's specific to them.
Yeah, so this is a summary of what's provided, and again, if you have the legal or the actual text of the amendments to the environmental conservation law were provided, and there's a lot more detail, and it gets into the nitty-gritty about, certain height classifications in New York City. I don't practice in New York City.
Yeah.
We don't do land, my office doesn't really do land use work in New York City. It's a whole other animal, as I'm sure some of you know, right? It's very different than upstate or out on Long Island. So that's just a very broad overview. But the actual statute itself has a lot more detail about those height.
Yeah, and then the final one is will not include construction of individual single-family residences on parcels of greater than half an acre. So if your housing project kind of meets these criteria, then you are exempt from environmental review in New York City specifically. Then there is a similar kind of category of these for everything else outside of New York City, right? So these are the regulations that kind of impact Beacon in the Hudson Valley. So construction of housing outside of New York City if the project meets these 5 criteria. So again, requiring that they be connected to public water and sewer systems, either when the project is proposed or will be at the time of habitation. Again, located on a previously disturbed site. Instead of like a square footage requirement, they now refer to 20%, no more than 20% of the development can be commercial or non-residential. And then here the maximum is lowered, right? So a maximum of 100 dwelling units, or 20 units for municipalities that do not have zoning, and 300 dwelling units for municipalities that are designated as urban areas, as defined by the U.S. Census.
And I think Beacon is an urban area.
Is an urban area.
The census, yeah. So your limitations would be the 300 dwelling units.
And then will not include construction of individual single-family residences on parcels of 1 acre or larger. So what I will just flag before we kind of go through the rest is that previously disturbed site adds additional kind of stipulations that we're going to go through. So these are kind of the main ones, but then there's additional things about flood zones and things like that as well.
So every one of these criteria, not just one.
If any of these are, I guess if you said no to any of these, then you would not be exempt.
Right, you have to meet all of them. You have to meet everything, yes.
And then the maximum, so it's
For us, it would be the 300.
Meaning up to 300 dwelling units
okay, anything above 300
is then subject to secret review, yeah, is not considered exempt. And, so what does this mean in terms of, practical application? There's actually a couple of items on your agenda tonight that this impacts. So a lot of your, 2-lot subdivisions now, if you have a parcel of land that's previously disturbed, meaning it has a single-family home already on it, and it's being subdivided into lots of less than 1 acre, because that last category will not include construction of individual single-family residences on parcels of 1 acre or larger. So if you have a 2-lot subdivision and both lots are less than 1 acre, and there's going to be a single-family home on each lot, exempt, as long as it obviously meets everything else, including the previously disturbed site definition. But I think a lot of your Main Street developments and a lot of your 2-3-lot subdivisions are going to start to fall within these exemptions.
So take a subdivision, right? Say you take a half-acre parcel, divide it into two. The parcel, when it was whole, was previously disturbed, but then
Yep.
if you happen to divide it such that the existing house is on one half, the other half isn't disturbed at this point.
We have a few questions like that we're going to get into when we get to previously disturbed, of things that are still being hotly debated that need to be clarified.
Yep,
Yeah.
right.
You are. You're a lawyer. Why are we even here? Let's go. So another exemption is construction at a previously disturbed site, which we'll get to, if that's for public parks that are kind of, without large community uses like performance centers, athletic stadiums, or other things for mass gatherings. And then also construction of a previously disturbed site if it is for a multi-use bicycle or pedestrian trail. And then the fourth one, water and wastewater infrastructure projects. So these are kind of a lot of municipal infrastructure kind of replacements, rehabs, existing small community water systems, or the provision of sewer service to a disadvantaged community. So this is kind of the state trying to remove this one level of review, and we'll get to this later on. This does not remove all levels of review. This is just the state's environmental review, right? But remove that for these kind of water and wastewater infrastructure improvements. And I think this is the last one, or the last two, 5 and 6, are construction of public schools in New York City. So this does not impact us, but they've exempted the construction of public schools within New York City. And then retrofitting of existing structures or adjacent areas to incorporate green infrastructure. So trying to promote that. So a few notes and clarifications on these.
Before we get to the notes, I just want to mention, like, obviously, the purpose behind each of these exemptions is promoting housing, trying to streamline the review of projects that, you know, the New York State Legislature and the governor have deemed to be things that they want to promote and advance, and, you know, kind of cut the red tape out of the process. So
Understood.
yeah.
So just some clarifications that we do have right now. These seeker changes take immediate effect and apply to pending applications as long as that application did not receive a positive declaration saying that it needs an environmental impact statement. There's, for the above exemptions, so now there's a kind of a limitation that the agency, and Jennifer, I believe lead agency, right?
Yes.
The designated lead agency has 120 days with the ability to extend from once you receive an application to determine whether the action, so to classify that action. This body usually does that within the first meeting, and so, you know, usually typically within kind of 30 days of receiving an application, but there is that additional stipulation. And then these seeker changes do not supersede, limit, or modify the effect of any authorizations or requirements, procedures, of laws or regulations of other things like historic preservation, disadvantaged communities, air and water quality. So it is, again, like there's other regulations out there about floodplain protections and historic preservation and endangered species. Those all, wetlands and everything like that, those all still have to be followed. This is just for kind of the seeker review. And this one was, I was trying to remember this note.
Yeah, this is construction of housing outside of New York City, where the construction of housing qualifies for an exemption, but there's no land use approval process involved. So in thinking about this, I was trying to think, like, what project, what would this practically apply to? And I'm thinking it's probably those, you know, there's a lot of upstate municipalities that don't have zoning, or do have zoning, but don't have like site plan review. That it's really just a building permit process. So I think that's what the legislature was trying to capture here.
Why do all the stipulations seem to pertain to environmental investigations, though?
Because I think they want to make sure that where there's no land use approval process, so there's no planning board reviewing this. You know, they want to make sure that at least there's a level of review done at the building permits, you know, before construction commences, to make sure that there's no, you know, environmental conditions at the site, hazardous condition, you know, hazardous waste conditions, other chemical conditions at the site. So that's why you see those requirements for a phase 1 environmental site assessment. Make sure that the recommendations in that phase 1 are followed. And that the developer is required to report any contamination at or under the site.
And I guess because everything is still previously disturbed, right? Even in this case, I'm just wondering that that's why they're probably not as concerned about wildlife or natural resources, because they've already limited this to disturbed sites.
Exactly.
But they've got some sense that it could be a brownfield or.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So here's the new definitions. There's a few new definitions that came out with this code as well. And so I think the big one that kind of triggers a lot of things is this previously disturbed site. So there's kind of, again, another 5 kind of criteria that define what is a previously disturbed site. So has been substantially altered by current or previous improvements or use at least 2 years before the submission of an application. So can't kind of get out there and start clearing things and then apply. Abuts, adjoins, or is opposite from another parcel that is or has been occupied by an improvement or use other than industrial or agricultural at least 2 years before the submission of an application.
Just before, yeah, so getting back to, so it, not only the site itself that's the subject of the development has to be previously disturbed, so substantially altered by a previous use or some kind of improvement, but also an adjoining parcel also has to be somehow previously occupied by an improvement or use. So you can't just have like an island of you know, a disturbed parcel with nothing around it and have that qualify.
And I think this where the question that you raised, John, is coming in is folks are saying, okay, well, what does it mean for, what is substantially altered, right? Or like if you have a 400-acre parcel and maybe historically there was some kind of use on that, on a portion of it, does this then impact the whole 400-acre parcel, or are we just now looking at the part that was previously disturbed, right? So I think that's a piece that folks are still looking for guidance from the state and DEC on. Similarly, so flood zones, kind of floodplains get pulled into this. So previously disturbed means they're including within that definition is not located in a FEMA designated 100-year floodplain or a special flood hazard area unless the municipality has adopted a local law that requires new construction to be elevated above the base flood elevation. So Jennifer, I think I flagged for you, City of Beacon does have a flood prevention, I forget what's the language of that code, flood damage prevention, that section of the code.
Yeah.
So I think that's another area where we have to look to see if that is triggering, look at that closely to see if that then qualifies us as a municipality that has adopted a local law that requires development to be constructed outside of that. Otherwise, I would assume that if there is a floodplain on any portion of the site, it is not exempt.
I think so.
Yeah. And then has not been used for agricultural purposes in the immediately preceding 2 years or 3 of the last 5 years before the submission of an application, and is not located in a coastal erosion hazard area. So those are kind of, you know, you can think of the original 5 that we had that are classifying these as what you have to meet to be exempt, and then you also have to go through these additional 5 to prove that you are a previously disturbed site.
And there's a note up there too that New York City has slightly different parameters for what constitutes a previously disturbed site. But we won't go into detail with that because we're not in New York City.
And then a little less, impactful, I think, necessarily for City of Beacon. There was 2 other definitions added in terms of public schools facilities, where the definition just makes it very clear that these are only applying to New York City. And then the small community water systems, kind of defining those based on the number of connections and the number of residents going to be served. I think so besides the definitions and the exemptions, the third of the fourth kind of change within the code or within the regulations is EIS timelines. So I think at the last training session, we went into a little bit about when you determine significance, right? And if you determine that the impacts are going to be adverse and significant, there is the pause deck route that you go down rather than the negative declaration. The new regulations are applying new kind of time limits to those. So previously, what was required was that an agency had to make a determination of significance as soon as possible, but in no case later than 20 days after the public hearing, after they were deemed the information complete. Which I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the standard was 20 days after you've received all the information that you need in order to make that determination of significance. And there's case law out there where a board has taken like 400 or 500 days to make that determination of significance, whether or not there is a significant adverse environmental impact. And the courts have said, that's fine, as long as the board is continuing to seek information that it needs in order to make that determination, and they made the determination timely within receiving all of it, you're good. Now, that rule no longer applies. Now, we need to make that determination within 1 year of establishing lead agency. So there is now an outside time limit, which I think is a good thing. It keeps applications moving and processing.
Keeps things moving, but what of that instance where the board reasonably still feels after 1 year that they haven't collected the required information?
If there's a question about whether there may be a significant adverse environmental impact, I think the burden there is on the applicant to get you the information to prove that there is no significant adverse environmental impact.
Otherwise, after a year, you got to call it
otherwise,
significant.
if there's a question,
Then you would pause
then you would
deck and
pause
start that
deck it.
process,
Yeah,
right?
Got it.
Yeah. So it really puts the onus on the applicant where it should be to provide the board with that information.
And then there's one other timeline after that is, so after the draft EIS, if you do, if the board does deem a positive declaration or adopt a positive declaration and encourage or require the drafting of an EIS, the EIS has to be prepared and made available within 2 years of the issuance of the positive declaration. But the agency, at its own discretion, may extend the deadline if agreed to, I guess, in consultation with the applicant.
Right. And that goes, I think, also for the determination of significance, that the timeline can be adjusted, as long as there's an agreement.
As long as both
between the
parties
board.
agree, yeah.
Exactly.
And then I think this is the final one, so kind of statute of limitations. So if there was going to be like an Article 78 on a decision that was made by a board with regards to seeker, I think the time to start that has been modified.
Yes. So the time clock for commencing that Article 78 proceeding challenging the seeker determination doesn't start to tick until you've made your decision on the underlying land use application. So there's a lot of times where you make your seeker determination, say it's a neg deck, but you don't decide the underlying special permit or site plan application for a couple more months. There is some case law out there, especially in our area, in the second department, that says the time frame to challenge the neg deck starts when the neg deck was issued, not at the end of the process.
I see.
So now it doesn't start to tick. Legislatively, it's been determined it doesn't start to tick until the very end of the process when you receive your land use approvals.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, there's been, it's the
And
whole
I'm
state of,
interpreting that as like
statute of
having more of the complete information that can come about in between the seeker and the final approval, right? In terms of things that can be placed and mitigate and things like that. If you have insight on what that, besides just setting a clear line of like, your 30 days starts now.
Yeah, I think it's more setting a clear line, because the case law on statute of limitations for challenging secret determinations is all over the place. It's a gnarly area of the law, I will say. So it is actually, I think, a good thing to have it legislatively determined and clear to everybody. Hopefully it is clear, and I'm sure we're going to have lots of litigation on what exactly this means, but
Exciting.
at least it's been decided and we can move forward from here.
Hey, the lawyers need something to do, right?
So I think that was
Yep, that's it.
did we have one more? No, that was it. So I just wanted to touch in like the 1 minute we have left, and just, as I mentioned at the beginning, we did talk in December about amendments to the actual secret regulations that DEC was considering, and that was to update the EAF forms, the environmental assessment forms, both the short and the long, and also include in the regulations guidance about considering environmental justice issues when you're making your seeker determinations. So that is now in the regulations. It has been a requirement in the environmental conservation law since the end of 2024, but DEC has not given any guidance in the regulations in terms of how to actually implement that. So now they've done that, and that becomes effective this week. So
Okay,
more to come on that.
great.
Yeah.
So I think of, this is super helpful, but of significance to the board tonight, you mentioned earlier that there are 2 applications on the agenda that were subject to SECRA, but now, because of these new laws, are not.
There are, and we can talk about those when we get to them
Yeah.
on the agenda, but there's two lot subdivisions on your agenda
Right.
that are now exempt.
Great,
Yeah.
awesome. Any questions, board? Otherwise, we'll start our regular meeting. Welcome, everybody, to the June 2026 meeting of the City of Beacon Planning Board. First order of business is to adopt last month's meeting minutes into the record. Well, I did watch the meeting, even though I wasn't here physically. I reviewed the meeting and the subject matter
If you review it,
therein.
you can vote on it.
Yeah, so to that end, we do have a quorum. Any modifications that we need to note? None from she who usually sends the modifications to us? Okay, if none, then I'll have a motion to
Motion
accept.
to accept last month's minutes into the record?
Motion by Len,
Second?
second by Kevin, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that brings us to our first agenda item. Continued public hearing and continued review of application for site plan approval, 1154 North Avenue, commercial, submitted by Hudson Vox LLC. Good evening.
Good evening. So we submitted revised plans based on the comments that we got at the last meeting. Also, we understand the neighbors' concerns about managing the, customers and clientele around the venue. And the applicant submitted a pretty comprehensive management plan that addresses the operational policies for occupancy, premises monitoring, and egress. We also submitted a parking location graphic that's going to be included in the website, and any mailings that encourage people to use the public lots or to share vehicles or use public transportation. We also got the acoustic engineer's report, which came with construction details, which we added to the plans. We added an image to the back of the building to show how the lighting works back there, and how the privacy fence would cut off, light spill to the neighboring property. Those were the changes. There's a few things that we're waiting to find out about. We want to confirm that we don't need a sign application separate from the, planning board review of the signage. We went back and forth a little bit about the sprinklers with Brian, so we need that determination. And I think that's sort of where we are right now.
Okay, thank you. Just scanning your operations and procedures. What are your, I don't see them noted here. What are your hours of operation?
They're different, but they show up on the site plan.
And what are they?
Hold on, I don't know it offhand.
I see them. Hours of operation.
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday, 2 p.m. to 12 a.m. Thursday, 2 p.m. to 12 a.m. Friday, Saturday, till 1:30 a.m. And Sunday to 11 p.m. Sunday and holiday weekends will operate with Saturday hours. That means a Sunday goes to 1:30 a.m. on a holiday? I don't know about that. We may want to come back to that and discuss that as a board. Okay, let's do our review highlights of our planner and engineer. We'll start with you, Natalie.
Sure. So first comment is regarding this might be just a learning curve for me, but RA already mentioned it too, whether or not a sign permit is required if a sign is shown on a site plan. I just think it's important for us to clarify that, because I think we can pay a lot more attention to signs shown on site plans and elevations, if that is the rule, that if it's shown on a site plan, then you don't need a permit for it. So I guess clarification from building inspector on that, I think would be helpful, just for the board to understand, and for me.
You're shaking his head, I'm curious.
I would say an application is required.
Okay, so outside of the site plan approval, a separate permit and permit application and then permit will be issued.
Or I was even thinking like can be done at the same time, but there is a permit form that has information required on it. And in the same way that if you're doing like a site plan, you know, like there's an application for site plan and subdivision, there's an application for sign. I don't know if they necessarily need to be separate processes, but if we are intended to be reviewing a sign at the same time as a site plan, I just think that permit application should be part of the application, so that we know, the submission, so that we know we're reviewing it, right? Like,
In some ways it is, it
Yeah.
just sounds like it diverts to, and the good thing about an applicant with a sign associated with their site plan approval is you have the building inspector sitting and listening to all of
Here.
the discussion. So when that permit application goes in, it should be a pretty quick, as
Review.
long as what they submit to the building department.
same.
Is the same as what they submit to the,
yeah.
that's never happened before. Then it should be a quick approval on a permit, right? So you
It would be, but I don't disagree that the permit application should be submitted with site plan to go along.
Should be separate.
It
Submitted with.
should be a separate application, but submitted with the site plan application.
Oh, okay, that's fine too.
Is what I'm thinking, just so it all stays together. Or they submit it after site plan, it doesn't matter to me.
You guys are the ones who have to
Right.
deal with the paperwork and the administrative end. so-
Submit it with site plan application.
I mean, since we haven't done that previously, can it be a condition if the timing works out that way?
I mean, that's how my phrasing listed, like if the application, a signed permit application is not part of your submission, then that's a requirement to, we're looking at, I think, general things and commenting on the signs here, but I guess that was my thought, is that at some point, Brian's department has to review
And issue a permit.
an actual permit, yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're reverting back to what I was saying, is that it's separate.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I mean, I'm just for this one, since it's sort of the first one we're doing that way, or that I'm doing that way, I'm just wondering about the timing. Is it something that, can be done since you have reviewed it as a
I'll
board?
just keep going through or do we want?
No,
yeah.
well, let's just finish this. It
Yeah.
sounds to me like you could submit your sign application to the city at any time.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Yeah, I'm just talking about like where it falls with the site plan approval process.
it all comes down to you.
Yeah,
Right, but if there's a difference between what you're presenting on the elevation and what
Yeah.
you provide on the sign application, well, I mean, it could happen, like, if
Yeah.
there's a split. You may change your mind, it may be later, and then it may not make any sense what we say about it.
Well, if what you review here with us in site plan is the same as what you're going
Right,
to
yeah.
ultimately submit to the building department for
Yeah.
permit, there shouldn't be a problem. If what you submit as a application for a permit to the building department for your sign is different, you have to come back to us for a certificate of appropriateness
right,
on that sign.
okay,
That make sense?
yeah.
Okay. Yes, Natalie?
I did have one note, so I think second point was noting, I had missed the hours of operation, so glad we touched on that. I think the other thing that would be important to just have noted on the site plan, and Ari, maybe it's on there and you want to point us to it, but there's been a lot of discussion, especially in the management plan, about the rear access, the rear door being emergency egress only, so that folks will not be coming in and out of there during normal operations. I think that's been brought up in terms of a concern of noise in the back of the building. So if that's what the board wants to see and what the applicant is willing to do, I just think we should have that noted on the site plan itself, just in case the management plan gets separated from the site plan. I feel like the site plan is what's binding. Noise attenuation, the applicant did submit an acoustic report, and so consistent with the recommendations of that report, there were 2 conditions that were recommended by the acoustics consultant, that additional sound system tuning and testing shall be conducted upon project completion to verify compliance with the applicable noise standards, and then also that the maximum permissible PA system volume shall be established based on the results of the post-construction compliance testing. So those, I was just recommending that those be conditions of the approval as well.
Great, thank you.
And should those show up specifically on the plans as well?
I think they would be warranted to be on the plans to follow through.
Yeah, I think you have other noise notes on here already.
Yeah, but that one's pretty specific, so
Yeah.
we can add that.
Okay. John?
They've noted that their engineer will coordinate with the New York State DOT regarding permitting. Has that process started? Have you,
Yeah,
the engineer is telling me yes. Okay. And back to the sprinklers. I know you're waiting because that may change your requirements with DOT.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you got to look at the latest today yet.
I did, and we'll talk tomorrow.
Okay. Board, let's discuss.
Can I just mention real quick?
Yes, please.
John? So on the noise report at your last meeting, last month, the board wanted to get input from a noise consultant.
Yep.
I had reached out several times to the consultant that we've worked with in the past and did not get any response. So I've started reaching out to other noise consultants. We should have one secured this week. I have someone lined up who's actually currently doing work for the city. So I just wanted to mention that in case you do still want to pursue that, we should be able to have a review ready for the next meeting to review the report that was submitted. And unfortunately, I would wish that we could have coordinated to have that done for this meeting, but we were just having some trouble with communications.
Yeah, thank you. Understood. And, in reviewing the conversation of last month's meeting, I think it's prudent that we continue the efforts of retaining a consultant to review applicant's acoustical report and other materials associated with noise, including any attenuation approach that the applicant is submitting as a part of this application. Agree, board?
Yes, especially because there's some language that I think is a little bit, at least to me, and I'm not a specialist, is ambiguous in the noise report. Like, for instance, there's a note 8 on the page 19. It says, all received locations are compliant with City of Beacon noise code levels. Sources may still be audible. And I wasn't quite sure how to interpret that in light of the one code requirement that we have that it can't be audible at night, if you're in a nearby residence. And so this is the figure with the sort of, isopleth or, mapping of the sound levels. So I was kind of like, what exactly does that mean? So I just want to be emphatic that we need somebody to take a look at this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, noise is obviously of concern, significant concern. I'm just curious, does the building have operable windows, meaning can you open them?
There are, but they're behind solid walls. There's sort of if you look at that plan, there's like an inner wall on the.
So wait, what?
You can open them, but you have to shimmy behind the wall.
Are exterior windows operable? I guess that's the question, right?
Well, even a garage door.
But you can't get to them. I mean, if you see the way that the studios on the second floor are, you know,
So
there's a second wall up there.
You're building
Yeah.
a wall over the exterior walls so that there's no access to that window from the exterior.
Right.
Or from the interior.
Interior, yeah.
That's odd.
It's more about creating the studio acoustic environment than having a view.
Because you need the rooms segregated from each other, too.
Yeah, yeah.
have to
I mean,
be baffled from each other.
the acoustic attenuation is going to be very tight.
Yeah. Look, I know enough to know that done right, construction can attenuate sound quite significantly. The reason I ask about breaches in that construction is because then once it's breached and then goes outside, it travels.
Yeah.
So as far as the construction, I'm going to wait until our consultant reviews your consultant's work. It's more the things that are sort of, you know, stated as controllable, like peopling, people outside in smoking areas, people congregating. Like, for example, what was it? Last night was Game 3, right?
Yeah.
Had, you know, I watched it, was great. Had my win, sort of, not so great because we didn't win, but, you know, nice night, windows open, and I'm 2 blocks from Main Street. And I can hear the hooping and hollering, right? Of people congregating, right? It's people, you know, out open air, able to project as a group quite significant noise.
Right.
And late into the night. So this has a proximity to residences similar or even shorter than my experience.
Right.
That, and look, I chose to live there, so, okay, but, you know, this is now a new establishment with potential noise producing, not the activities inside the building, but outside the building,
Right.
especially when we talk about congregating and smoking areas, that kind of thing.
Right, and that, you know, and that's why that came up, you know, we're trying to show what the mitigation would be with that occupancy
So
management.
what I've read as far as your mitigation plan is that if the owner feels that there's, you know, noise beyond what is a reasonable level, they'll go out and shut it down. To me, that is a, you know, a sort of a conflict of interest. So I think we gotta talk about and work on how to, and again, you know, there's been so many instances of this. I can think back years of, you know, many establishments promising, and even through great detailed review, you know what they are, of all of the mitigation efforts and all of the promises of, yeah, we'll be quiet, that don't pan out that way. So, I don't know, somehow we got to continue to work on this.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the, you know, the owner's desire and conflict of interest, I mean, you know, I think part of the interest is making sure that you know, the complaints don't come and managing it appropriately and, you know, trying to be a good neighbor. But, I mean, if there are specific things in that report that, you know, can give it more teeth or something, you know, I'm not sure what the, because that's usually what it comes down to with those projects. It's like, how do you...
look, I would say one of the things, and you can think about this or not, but one of the things that would help disperse that congregating, again, who knows, you might not get 10, 15, 20 people all standing around smoking together, but you might. I don't know, it's a different time. But to just eliminate any smoking area just for that purpose and for health reasons, and to, you know, hopefully better, you know, people's approach to smoking, right? Not necessarily facilitate it at your establishment. We all thought the bar scene in New York City was going to die and end because they took smoking out of the bars, but it didn't. So, you know, I don't necessarily see that as an impediment to doing business.
Right.
Just eliminate a smoking area.
Oh, yep.
Eric Whitener, the applicant. as far as our plan goes for outside congregation, in the report, we spell out that our policy is no congregation outside. We did put that section in for smoking because of the reality that people will, invariably smoke. We could take that out. That's not a must. But if there were to be a place to smoke on a premises, that is the place furthest from a residence. It's the place most contained over there, both from a smoke and a noise standpoint. And it would be the type of thing, smoke a cigarette, come back in, not, that's where you're gonna hang out. So, it's just human nature, you get people in there, somebody's gonna be a smoker, and we didn't want them wandering around the street or in a back alley or anything like that, and just make it official and give them one designated place.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you're of smoking age, you're a big boy. You can figure out how to go wander down the street without being a nuisance and have a cigarette. I don't know. I just think facilitating it by providing that area as a designated smoking area it's contributing to,
That's fair.
I used to smoke, it's a terrible habit. But also, it also facilitates the ability for people to, again, I know what it's like. I used to be a smoker. Stand around outside with a group of people and enjoy a cigarette together and make noise because you're drinking, you're having fun, and you make noise. Yep.
Okay, now we'll look at that. Did you pick up any other specific ones like that, or?
We'll continue to talk about it around the board. Any other observations, folks?
Actually, I built recording and mastering studios in a different life. So the one thing I saw as far as the details, all of which are very, actually fairly high quality, they seem like they work. And the one thing I would recommend about that is that the inspection of the installation, including things like penetrations through the electrical outlets, any penetrations in the wall, caulking, be part of the framing inspection, and that it be a checklist that's done. So that, because that's to everyone's benefit, because those things get closed up, and there's no way to ensure once the wall is closed that it performs. The other, sorry.
No.
The obvious weak link is that there's a glass garage door here, which has a certain kind of seals on it. It's existing. I'm sure it's not like double or triple framed. And you should ask if there are ways like theater curtains, the heavy curtains that they use, and other things that have closure, right, around the perimeter that would help resist the sound, because that's basically, it's an amplifier. It works like a drum head. So it's a diaphragm that's going to actually make it louder than it would be if it was.
Yeah, I just want to chime in here on all those points. For one point, in terms of, sealing up the electrical outlets and all of the, even minor openings between rooms, just want to iterate, our business model depends on these rooms being as soundproof as possible to be a private environment. So it's, from a business standpoint, we want that as well.
No, I can tell.
Our acoustic consultants will be coming in during the construction drawing process as well as the construction process and post-construction to ensure all of this is being met along the way. In terms of the garage door, they did do explicit testing without anything in there. It's just bare right now. And that's where they came up with their baseline. They think that we don't even need curtains, but we're happy to add them, both from, I just think it's a good additional measure, and it's also good for, in the event that you want that, a little more private.
You want to control it as well. Yeah. And it could be, have an interior design effect. It could dampen the sound. You don't need other absorbing materials. Right. There's a lot of ways that somebody who's a good designer can make that reduce sound and improve the quality of the sound inside.
Yep. Great.
Did you have something?
Yeah, I have one more question kind of based on the conversations, and I'm noting you did call this out on the elevations, right? That the second floor windows are obscured by the interior acoustic walls. I guess I'm just trying to better understand then, what does that look like from the exterior during the day as time goes on? So when it starts, they're going to be nice acoustic walls that are probably black, and so you're going to see the window and you'll probably see a black wall, some footage in between, right? Are those are the windows going to be blocked out as well? Like when those walls start to fade from sunlight hitting them over and over again, like can you get back there and maintain that? Like what is that? Because now these windows are going to be blocked, so we're going to be, which I understand the need for that because these are private karaoke rooms, but what does that look like down, down the road?
First point, I would say that the current tenant that's in there now
Yeah.
is a gallery, and they have the walls sealed up as it is.
Yeah.
So worst case scenario, it'll look exactly like it is now, white walls facing the exterior.
Okay.
Our plan was perhaps paint them. We're more, interested in it just, mitigating the sound part, but we could paint it whatever color that's most.
Just thinking about it, about what that's going to look like down the road. If it's white, that's fine. If it's black and it fades because of sun,
I think we would just keep it as white unless there's a major concern.
Okay.
In terms of getting in there to maintain it, we do want to keep them sealed because of it'll maximum. If we need maintenance, we can go through the window. That is another option. But if white's okay with the board, we're okay with that.
Thank you. Okay, anything else, board? Before we go to the public, we still have public hearing open. Okay. Yeah, we do have quite a few letters from the public submitted, so thank you. Those have been noted, read, and are in the record. So if you're here and you did submit a letter, you're welcome to come up. No need to come up and repeat yourself. But if you'd like to, if you have anything new you'd like to add, please do. So anyone here from the public who would like to share their thoughts, please do. Yeah, we usually have a 3-minute limit on comments. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Megan McInnes. I'm a Beacon resident and I'm a local realtor as well. I'm here to support this karaoke bar. I'm a local mom. We moved here because we were really interested in raising our son in a vibrant and artistically driven community. And I work with a lot of young families who are interested in moving here because it's a vibrant, artistic community. I know that we've heard a lot about noise. There are acoustic consultants involved and all of that. As someone who loves karaoke, a good karaoke bar doesn't have that much coming outside because, as Eric has said, they're contained rooms. And the thing that really interests me about karaoke bars, yes, there is a late night component, but there's also a component for multiple generations to get together, and there are not that many places in Beacon where you can do that. Karaoke is really, it's a community activity. It's something that you can do and gather together and have fun, and it's something that we don't have right now. We have sports bars, we've got places where you can enjoy a glass of wine, but it's not a place that you can, aside from just a sit-down meal, that you can have a place where people can come and have, a party. There's Happy Valley is a good example, but there aren't a lot of other places. So I'm strongly in support of this. I also wanted to note that, I know that there's been some press coverage where the applicant was characterized as a developer, as if this was an anonymous person from outside of town. I know Eric because our sons are friends. It's a local mom and dad from Beacon who are interested in starting this business, and I think that's something that we should really support. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but I just wanted to throw out my support as a Beacon resident.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Nicole Correa-Burke. I am a resident of Fishkill, but we are Beacon school family, so right on the cusp there in Glenham. Similar to Meg, we really appreciate the opportunity to have a place to bring our families. We come into town for music class, for sports class, for our arts classes, and we try to stay. So we go and get lunch after, we look for things to do, and we too see that void of that multi-generational opportunity. So we're big fans of that. I won't take up more of your time repeating what she said, but I did also want it on the record that we think it's a great addition to our community, and we're excited to hopefully be able to patronize it and bring friends to the city to do the same thing.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Patrice Washington. I'm an artist. I'm also a professor at Columbia University, and I like to think of myself as one that really wants to foster kind of a creative, vibrant community in the same way that my peers had suggested. And so I'm also in support of the karaoke bar. And like Meg said, I feel like there's so many great bars, restaurants, places to shop, but there's few places for recreation that maybe aren't centered around purchasing a thing or consuming alcohol specifically. And so I think that there's a real need for that, especially for young folks in town, to just have a place to gather and relax and just kind of have fun. So not taking up a lot of time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jim Zellinger. I live right behind the proposed venue. I submitted something already, but there's some notes that I wanted to add. As a neighbor of the building, I oppose the application and hope the board will require extensive alterations and notes on the proposal. The potential impacts due to the use, the noise, parking, lighting, stated hours of operation are significant and would create an undue burden on the surrounding neighborhood. The clarity around how the building would be soundproofed, how the neighborhood would be protected from incursion, sound and otherwise, has not been voiced in the proposal. At this early stage, I can only assume that this is a bellwether demonstrating a lack of concern for the immediate neighborhood. In my submission to the board, I outlined a number of points raised in the previous meeting that have not been addressed by the most recent submission. There are too many to recite here, but I hope that the board considers each one and brings them up as addressed. I would, however, request the board answer the following questions in order to assure and protect those potentially impacted by the venue. As we have seen recently, developers in Beacon have ignored requirements set by the planning board. This venue carries more than aesthetic impacts. If rules are not followed, the results are practical and can impact the community and residents materially. So the first question, will the board conduct an independent evaluation of the sound mitigation plan with a professional sound engineer prior to the approval of the building? Second, will there be an on-site assessment of the building and sound deadening techniques during the building process by an outside professional? Third, how will the board ensure that the decibel levels are code compliant? What is the testing plan and how often will that be repeated? And most significantly, I really want to know who is liable if this project fails to meet the noise standards. I don't think anybody here is an expert in how these rooms are built. And I just taking someone's word for it or just one consultant's word for it that's been submitted, I can tell you 15 things in the plans that are submitted that are not going to work for sound mitigation. Living right behind, having kids there, it's just a non-starter for me. One of the most significant professionals in the area says some of the biggest problems I've seen over the years with sound transmission from room to room have to do with the contractor's failure to pay attention to air paths created during construction between rooms. Contractors install walls designed and tested to provide STC ratings of 54. When the job is finished, the STC rating is as low as 34. That happens all the time. And in closing, the sign in front of the building currently noting the review for public comment says May 12th. Does not state today's date. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm just here as a concerned resident. I'm looking at those drawings and the inner walls, and upstairs I don't see very many egresses to get out in case of an emergency, and I'm all about family safety as well. I'd like somebody to really look at that as a fire issue. And to scale back the hours, we're now seeing all of the bars up and down Main Street having music out on their patios, and there's more no's to yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Keith Shipp. I've lived on West Church Street for over 40 years. I've dealt with a lot of parking issues, noise issues, noise on Main Street between the Bank Square, having a band out, the bands which is by the Moose, making a lot of noise. It always goes on till at least 11, 12 o'clock at night. people hanging up and down the street, in the parking lot, in the driveways. I'm opposed to this plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so knowing that we still have some review by our city's acoustical consultant, we're going to keep public hearing open so that we can continue to have the conversation around some of the concerns expressed. And with that, anything else you need for the moment?
Would it be possible to start to draft the resolution, or assuming that the acoustic, comes out the right way?
I mean, look, we can draft resolution, it doesn't mean we're going to adopt resolution, but I don't know, board, what do you think?
I mean, it just keeps it moving,
I understand.
assuming everything else moves forward. The other thing, I know this is not your concern as a board, but he's paying rent on the property and wants to get this moving along. We're just doing what we can to, but I understand it's not your.
Jennifer, how many, when we did the resolution for the original Prophecy Theater, how many items in there do you recall had to do with acoustic mitigation? A lot, right?
Yeah,
So
a lot.
it may not
At least
be-
probably a page worth of conditions that were really pulled directly from the noise consultants.
Including exterior
report.
fencing, sound lock, double doors, the glazing, a ton of stuff, right? So I'm just,
Yeah.
Testing to meet requirements on completion of construction, that kind of thing? Yeah,
so I'm
I
just saying,
think,
like, it may not be worth trying to start now if there's a
well,
lot
look,
of
we
complex
could
issues.
draft it, it can sit there for, however long it needs to before we adopt it. So just, to help and be fair, the request is made. Again, doesn't mean having a draft means nothing until we adopt it, so.
Yeah, if you adopt, right? I mean, this is not, preparing a resolution for the next meeting also doesn't mean that the board has, made up its mind in terms of its decision on the application.
Right. And, it's then what I would consider a working draft, because I think there are a lot of conditions that we're going to be covering and perhaps augmenting within a draft to make sure it's tight.
And sometimes it can be a useful exercise to at least prepare the conditions to try
Yeah,
to
that was
narrow and hone in on
kinda my
exactly
thinking.
how this is going to be controlled, if it is going to be approved, so.
And it gives you a place to start to continue to list discussion points around conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as there's no perception that we are rushing to judgment, we will take a hard look at this. We will wait for the recommendations of the city's noise consultant.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you also want to take a look or discuss the hours of operation?
Yeah, I think we can kind of do that all in a oneer next month. What I would say is go back and really consider especially the 1:30 hour, because again, I'll just use my experience as an example. There are certain weeknights, even weekend nights, where I think, well, okay, it's acceptable up until a certain point, and at least my own personal feeling is that past midnight is unacceptable.
You wouldn't want me to, you don't want to hear me singing out there at 1:15?
Nope. I wouldn't want to hear you singing out there at 2 in the afternoon, RA.
What's the song? I mean,
I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga.
I do have one last question, though. For the city's acoustic consultant, I wasn't clear. Did you have someone lined up? I'm just trying to see the schedule.
We're
Would
in
we
the
get something
process
before?
We do.
Of getting somebody engaged this
Right.
week. Yeah, so the person that we had been using was unresponsive, so we've moved on to another
But
consultant.
do you expect to get their
I'm going to
their
push
answer?
to
Okay.
get a report from them as soon as possible, hopefully before your next submission
Right,
deadline, so
okay.
you can respond to that. I know that's probably where you're going with that.
Yeah, no, that's all I wanted to figure
Yeah,
out. Okay.
we're going to push as hard as we can to get
Okay.
that done. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Just one final comment on the hours. The hours, like the ceiling, we modeled it after what Vinyl Room and Happy Valley and Piggy Bank already do.
Just a quick note, those are all the ones that I hear.
Well, they also have outdoor sections, and they don't have the level of soundproofing that we do. I'll just point that out. If the Sunday on a weekend is a problem, we're amenable to bringing that back, but I think they're fairly reasonable, considering Piggy Bank has 2 a.m. plus hours.
Yeah. Yeah, give it some real thought and consideration. We're going to discuss it in more detail next month. Thank you. Yep. Okay, so the request, and I guess I'll ask for a motion to authorize Jen's office to draft resolution with the understanding that there is no obligation by the planning board to adopt resolution when we have it in hand next month. So motion to do so.
Motion.
Motion by Kevin.
Second.
Second by Karen. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, item number 2 on our agenda was adjourned at the request of the applicant. If anyone happens to be here for 393, 397 Fishkill Avenue, that has been removed from our regular agenda, so we will now then move to item 3, which is continued review of application for subdivision approval, 84 Anderson Avenue, residential, submitted by Sadhna Gupta. Good evening.
Hello. I'm not sure if it's really worthwhile for me to pull up the plans at this point. I think it's a pretty quick procedural thing we're here for at this moment. We've submitted to the planning board and to the zoning board concurrent as a result of the referral to the zoning board from the planning board at last month's meeting. I think today was supposed to be a procedural seeker declare yourself lead agency so that and then consider a seeker determination so that the zoning board could potentially make a decision at its meeting next week, because this is a coordinated review of seeker. Therefore, I think that kind of get blown up based on the workshop, so I'd like to just kind of figure out where we need to be at this point and go from there.
The applicant.
So, yeah, after the last planning board meeting last month is when the budget bill got adopted. And this particular application would fall within one of the exemptions. So
you've just won the land use lottery.
Go get a lottery.
Well, I mean, that's an example of red tape being cut, right? Having to bounce back and forth between multiple boards because of this like procedural thing.
Right.
Now no longer has to happen.
Yep.
And how many bats are saved?
How many?
Honestly. I don't mean to be, because it does improve all of our environment. It's like a useful thing, but there's some, there are these cases that are really broadly, there's a lot of them because you don't want to miss things that are important, and I think it's okay.
And what's interesting too, not to get on too much of a tangent, but actually 2-lot subdivisions were part of, in 2019, I guess it was, the last round of SECRA amendments. 2-lot subdivisions were originally proposed to be type 2. It got pulled at the last minute by DEC because they thought perhaps statewide that might not be appropriate. But it's an interesting little footnote. So we had prepared a neg deck as directed by the planning board for the last meeting, but again.
Can I do one more tangent? Because I just want to really hit home the workshop is,
really
there's still regulations in the code that allow the board to look at the removal of trees on subdivisions that are outside of seeker, and there still is DEC regulations about when you can cut down trees to minimize impacts on bat habitats and roosting. So I just don't want everyone to be out there thinking that the bats are now going to be negatively impacted, because there's still other regulations in how we would think about tree and tree removal on a site like this.
But is that part of the normal review process, the bat timeline?
The bat timeline, that's a state requirement.
That's secret.
I guess I'm not as familiar, so it's not just a box.
There's a
that you
time
check.
there's a window when you can cut trees of a certain size.
Yeah, because otherwise, if you cut during the prohibited period, you'd have to get a permit from DEC, or an incidental take permit from DEC.
And they haven't removed any requirements for data centers.
That all.
You're better off waiting until the fall, basically.
Yeah.
Do bats
They'll wait
roost or
around
nest?
till it then.
Roost, right?
They roost?
Isn't it roosting? Don't they call it roosting?
Roosting.
Now, is it a herd of bats, a murder of bats, is it a flock of bats?
I don't know.
Yeah. Next time you don't have as many mosquitoes, you can.
All right.
So what you can do is schedule, we have not scheduled the public hearing
No,
yet,
that's what I
so
was
we can
gonna
schedule
ask.
the
I
public
appreciate
hearing
that.
for July.
Yeah. So let's just real quick, any other or highlights you want to raise of your review comments?
No, previous comments were addressed and discussed at the last meeting. The only outstanding comment is noting the variance that's required for the lot width on Lot A. Yep.
Same thing.
Wow. Okay.
I try to please.
Yeah. This is why you won the lottery. Great. Okay. So then let's talk about or otherwise move to notice public hearing for next month's meeting.
Motion for public hearing.
Motion by Karen.
Seconded by Len.
Len, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you.
You too.
We're going to take a short break, a 1-minute break, as requested by Karen Kiana, as she's sitting here whispering in my ear.
Just throw her under the bus.
Call her
I
out.
also will take a break.
It's been fun. Yep. Ready? Okay. We are going to move to the next agenda item, which is continued review of application for amended site plan approval, 364 Main Street, mixed-use commercial and residential, submitted by 364 Main BCN LLC. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Now that we've dealt with the difficult applications, we'll get to the easy one. With that, I want to note that a group of bats is either a colony, a cauldron, or a cloud. So just to, for the record, let the record reflect that. Again, Taylor Palmer with Cutting Fader on behalf of the applicant. I am joined by Jason Anderson, as well as Amanda Baxter and Patrick Moore and Sean O'Donnell on behalf of the applicant's team. Mr. Chairman, we are before you for our continued review of our applicant's amended site plan application, where we're proposing certain amendments to the previously approved building program and formalizing certain field changes. We did first appear before you all last month to introduce the site plan amendments, at which time the board declared itself lead agency for the seeker process as it continues to evolve. At that meeting, after the reviewing submitted materials, the building inspector also addressed the planning board and explained that the revisions detailed in our original planning board submission dated April 28, 2026, there were certain items that weren't approved as field changes, and the applicant and the board then focused on those specific items to assess whether they could be physically reverted or what we could do to better the building program and the application. Some of those specifics were the vents on the east side of the building, the straight brick window heads, the 4-inch window sills, the storefront material, and then the removal of shadow boxes on the east side of the first elevation, which we then later discussed with the building department to try and understand collectively what that was. So we've come to that conclusion. So to supplement our submission, as requested by the board at our last meeting, in order to look at additional improvements, we did reassess the proposed building design program to detail some additional changes from the initial submission and to provide additional responses to your comments. These revisions primarily respond to the feedback about the front of the building and the entrances, because I think those were a big focus of our initial conversations. So we'll address those additional revisions as my presentation progresses, and then Jason will certainly show you visually some of what we're working with here. But before I do so, I know, Chairman, you mentioned that you did get a chance to watch the video, but just for those who may not have been in attendance, I will review just some procedural background on this to try and tie together some of what we laid out in our initial application materials and then what we've revised to update in this supplemental submission. So just taking a quick step back, the applicant's predecessor received site plan approval for the planning board from this board back in April of 2022, and it's for a 3-story mixed-use building on Main Street, which has commercial space and 20 total apartments on the 2nd and 3rd floors above, as well as associated improvements, and that's on Main Street and Eliza Street. That was effectively the approved project. We are in the CMS district. We are not in the city's HDLO. Several months prior to the original approval for the project, the board also adopted a neg deck. Of course, here we're before you for amendments, so we're seeking amended neg deck in that concept. As detailed in those documents, the approved project contemplated the 3-story building, so that had about an 8,800 square foot commercial space on the first floor and then multifamily above, with 31 total bedrooms. We included 42 off-street parking spaces that were accessed by 2 existing driveways from Main Street and Eliza Street respectively. The landscaped areas were also included as part of that and then met the city's landscaping requirements. The application before you tonight doesn't change any of the unit count, the commercial square footages, or any of those specific criteria, or anything to do with the off-street parking or vehicular access points that we haven't otherwise since met with Mr. Russo and Mr. Murphy at the site to discuss, some of which you'll hear about tonight. The majority of these changes that are subject to the site plan amendment are both either completed or proposed. So they relate to the architectural features of the building, such as the fenestration, material selection, roof deck configuration, as well as accessibility to the front of the building that were encountered during the build-out and the adaptive reuse of this mixed-use building. So those are sort of the amended project changes. So we'll try and slow down to go through sort of what we call buckets of the changes that we've gone through on this site. So we understand that some of the completed changes were reviewed and approved by the prior building inspectors. I know some of this was work done with Bruce, some of this was done with Dave, and collectively with Brian as the project has evolved. The purpose here is not to go over what he said or she said, or what Victor Wembiana said to Jalen Brunson when he threw him to the ground the other night, though I'd like to hear that. But we're here to work with you and city staff, as Mr. Murphy requested. We're here for that amendment now. To that end, as is more fully detailed in our most recent submission and our original submission that really broke it down into those different pieces, we are requesting via the site plan amendment application, review and consideration of these changes, whether or not field changes, to formalize and clarify the record of proceedings, and of course to try and address the building design as we go forward. So just before I turn it over to Jason to kind of go over the rationale of the prior plans versus those revisions, I just want to give an overview of the application since our April 28th submittal. So as I mentioned, our predecessor received a building permit from the then city building inspector back in February of 2023. So that was the initial building permit that was submitted, and subsequently commenced project construction, some demolition and construction. We understand that the construction drawings that were approved as part of that building permit application included certain variations from the improved project, namely the removal of corbelling from the brick facade and the replacement of a flat, plain brick facade. This is proposed to remain as part of the approved project. Subsequently, in July of '24, the applicant purchased the property and continued the construction efforts. Prior to the conveyance, we understand that the applicant and the applicant's predecessor secured several field changes from the then building inspector in and around. There's certain changes that included removing Juliet balconies on the west and east elevations and replacing them with operable double windows, as well as removal of fire-rated windows in the stairwells and the rooftop lobby, both of which are proposed to remain in this application. An additional field change that was secured by and was replacing the stair and the elevator bulkhead cladding to thin brick fiber cement board. The applicant is changing those to revert back to the brick. So the proposal is to revert back to the brick for those components, notwithstanding the field change granted for those. Since that time, the prior changes under the prior building inspector, we understand the applicant has also met now with Mr. Murphy, and originally met back on site in October of last year to review the building as it was under construction to assess additional field changes relating to grade discrepancies from the approved project plans, which we'll get into as well. We understand these changes were coordinated on site at that October 30th meeting to ensure code compliant barrier ADA-free access. That was done, and now you probably have seen it if you've been by the property in the last few days, the inclusion of stairs and ADA ramps. So we noted that in our recent submittal, and we also discussed that in detail with the board at the last meeting when we wanted to try and move forward with that as it relates to this application. And then there were certain revisions to planter locations in the front of the building that were accommodated by that, or had to be modified in relationship to that ADA access. As part of the site plan application, one project change that is proposed to be reverted to the original is the replacement of the flat trim on the commercial storefront with crown profile. Additional project changes that are proposed to be further revised. And again, some of this is what we initially submitted and have supplemented based on the feedback from the board, is the installation of storefront panels. This was proposed to remain with the addition of the painted decorative PVC trim, and then the rooftop deck is proposed to be arranged to accommodate the HVAC. Some additional changes that are proposed to be maintained in their current form. So the construction now uses full depth brick rather than thin brick. So we're proposing to maintain that veneer, and then the applicant moved forward with those full bricks rather than those thin bricks. We're proposing to maintain the 4-inch cast stone sills where the construction documents conflicted on that specific size. And then the rear steel beams were painted black as opposed to wrapped in polymer trim. I promise these are the last few changes to note. Again, these are all things that have been discussed, and that's, we're trying to sort of identify what was on a plan, what was on an approved plan, what was a field change, and then what ultimately were not.
So maybe to save you a little bit of time, I'm going to make a request.
Yes.
And it's going to start to address your list. But first, I got a couple of things to say about this application in particular. This appears to me to be a case of an applicant who, and to some degree, I don't care about the whys, because at the end of the day, deviated quite a bit from an approved site plan. So what then it leads me to start to believe, just from observation, is that the applicant abjectly ignored every requirement or a significant number of requirements of their agreement with the city on that approved site plan. We can talk about the whys, but like I said, at the end of the day, they really don't matter because we're here now. And one of the main points I want to make, and this is where I really don't care about the whys, is because I think back to the amount of work that this board put in, the amount of time that this board spent. I'm also referring back to, and I have copies of, the ARB review notes that are detailed, where you have a group of people here committing their time, volunteering their time over a long period of time to do for the city what we've been charged to do, and that is ultimately the right thing for the city as it relates to these types of applications, all of them, quite honestly, but especially these types of very significant applications that establish our Main Street, the Main Street that we all have to look at, experience, and live with. And this applicant ignored all of the time we put in to that review. And so that's where I am beyond angry at the waste of our time, including this time. I want it known by every applicant that we don't sit here just for our health or for the fun of it. This is a waste of our time, and I'm tired of it. I want that clear. So, what I want from this applicant is a list of every single item, how it deviates from what was approved. And I want spreadsheet format, I don't care. I want a list showing what that item is, how it deviates from what was approved, what was a field change approved by a previous building inspector. I want clear documentation of that approval, of that field change. And then I want what field changes or whatever changes that are currently in place that were built that you're electing to reverse to then match what was approved. And then that will leave us with the open list and a clear list of every single item that deviated from what we approved. And I'm not going to talk any more about this until next month, and we have that list, and we're going to go line by line. Is that clear?
It's very clear. And I just will say, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your comments, and the reason why the applicant's full team is here is because they're taking this, and I know we presented some of this at our last meeting, but very seriously, they've engaged and have met with and really appreciate the opportunity that Mr. Murphy and Mr. Russo have come out to the site more than once since we've met with you all to try and do just what you've described, and we will put that in a different format than our narrative so that it is itemized, just as you've described. We have a lot of that material, and I will say that a lot of what we're talking about is because we're trying to do more than just push back to where the specific project design was because of comments and feedback that we received from the board based on what's in the field. That doesn't take away anything that you've said. We hear you. We are going to incorporate that into our supplemental submission.
I want every single effort made not to waste another single moment of our time.
Absolutely.
And this is one path to making sure that this is clear.
Yes.
Not confusing.
Yep.
And We're here, we're going to take the time next month, and we're going to go line item by line item.
Yes.
We're going to talk about every single one of them. And I want that list to be full, complete, and comprehensive, because if our consultants go through the list, and our building inspector goes through the list and finds anything that you didn't list,
Right.
I'm going to be equally as angry, because it's your job.
Absolutely. We are going to present that to you all. We are going to seek that feedback and guidance from the building department. We have initiated that. We already have a draft of a spreadsheet to address just those items. Clearly, we didn't want to bring it new tonight. We wanted to make sure you had time to digest it, so that the building department, most importantly, and Mr. Russo have time to give feedback in the form of any comments or just time to review it. So we're doing just that. We're putting that in. If I may, just for the benefit of the board, just a brief presentation by our architect about what some additional information that we've put into this, just so you have it before you and can see what we've done, again, to move this project forward, not just in a reverse. We're trying to move the project forward, considering what you said and how we can make this project better overall, not just return to sender.
Fine. Thank you. Yes, fine. If you think it will help, if you think it will help advance the process, if you would think it will help us be more efficient, please. Otherwise, I'll cut you off.
Yeah, understood. So Jason Anderson, ADG Architects. I was here last month. Just for the record, I was brought on about 6 weeks ago for this specific purpose, just to try to address these adjustments. So the package that we have submitted is what we tried to prepare graphically to show exactly what you were just mentioning. Show what was originally approved, show what the as-built were, and the way that we did that is we took a 3D scanner out, scanned the outside of the building so we could accurately represent that, included images as well, and then went the step to say, okay, what can we do to, we're not going to necessarily be able to bring it all back, but what can we do to try to address what we are perceiving the concerns are from what we've heard at the last meeting, but also in general. So that's the process.
And again, we're going to talk about what you're going to bring back and what.
Understood.
And that's up to us.
I am not presuming that.
Thank you. Anything else?
I think the only thing, Mr. Chairman, is whether or not the board wants to set this, go ahead, Len may have a question, but just whether the board wants to set it for public hearing to also take the feedback from the public. The material is just going to lay out
It's too early for public hearing.
Okay.
What do you have?
Quick question that may help us save time later about the as-built elevations. And I was just looking at the building this morning, and if you pull up for a second, for example, the as-built east elevation on, this is sheet A-005.
Yep.
And it appears to me that that entrance shown on the tower, the residential entrance, is not an actual as-built, or maybe there's a lot of glazing shown. The actual opening in the brick is a little bit narrower than the two windows, the width of the two windows above it. So I'm bringing this up only because I looked at this and said, are these really the as-built? Because this doesn't,
Here again,
that doesn't look like an as-built. So
I don't want our board to have to spend this amount of time scrutinizing what's accurate and what's not. I am not going to entertain any kind of screwing around where we have to pick through and we have to find things. No, not going to happen. This list needs to be comprehensive, it needs to be complete, and it's not up to us. And that's exactly my point. I'm tired of wasting time. This is a waste of our time.
So yeah, just brought it up in the desire to save time. Please check the as-built and
Will
make
do.
sure they're reflective of actual as-built conditions.
Will do.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move to the next agenda item. Review of application for, oh yeah, let's get Natalie. Review of application for subdivision approval, 108 Liberty Street, residential, submitted by Stephen Spaccarelli and Claire Tipley.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Again. Dan Kohler with Hudson Land Design. I
Don't
guess
make
I
me
have
angry,
to say
Dan.
that.
I'm from Hudson Land Design, and I've never been so happy to be myself as.
So this is your first time before us, yeah?
It is.
And again, you you win the secret lottery.
Apparently, yes.
So,
Go play lotto on your way home.
he just used up all of his good juju.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, man. Save that for next game 4.
Yeah, I think we need it. But anyway, so this is a small subdivision. It's 108 Liberty Street is the mailing address at this point. It's a little over half an acre. It's in the R1-5 zoning district, across from the elementary school campus. The applicant wishes to subdivide the lot into two. So there's the existing house here on the southwest corner of the lot. It's tucked right in on those property lines there. It's 100-foot width and about 240 foot of depth, so plenty of lot area. Okay, sorry. Let me try this again. How about, okay, sorry about that. So the house, again, in the corner, southwest corner of the building, of the lot. And what we have here is a number of very large spruce trees. Those are the 3 symbols here underneath my cursor. And there's an existing dirt driveway in between those. And I wanted to, all right, I'm definitely doing the click share wrong here. I think what I need to do is desktop. There we go. I think this is going to do it. Okay, so this is just a shot from the street view, just to kind of give you a little perspective. Here's the house that's in the southwest corner of the lot, and then the 3 very large spruce trees are here. Now, the applicant would prefer to try to keep those spruce trees.
Are those the ones labeled hemlock on the plan here? Is that the same thing?
Yes.
Yes, that is the ones that are labeled hemlock. I'll have to see if that was, well, it doesn't matter if it was from the survey or from us, but I believe they're spruces, yeah.
Okay.
So the applicant is looking to subdivide the lot, again, R1-5, very limited in what we're able to do to meet the 50-foot lot width, so we have to put the lot line in one exact spot on here if we were to subdivide this into the 2 lots. They want to utilize that existing driveway as the trees are relatively used to those, the traffic load in and out on that area. So what the plan is to propose a new house on the east side of the lot, utilizing that same area that was the existing dirt driveway, and then proposing a new driveway for the existing house. And the concept is we're pushing the house back a little bit too because of the spruce trees. So that is the reason why the house is laid out as it is on this plan. And you know, your consultants, you know, obviously raised some issues with regard to code on that, and that was the reasoning behind it. So where this leaves us is 2.5 foot between the driveway and that proposed property line, where 5 feet is required by code. So we recognize that. We added a note on here about, you know, possibly going for a variance for that. So our goal was to discuss this layout concept with the board to see if it's something that is amenable. My client is not here. I did tell him if he could try to be here by about 8:30, so we're on target with the estimate, but he's not here just yet. So I can't make any decisions on that at this moment unless he gets here, but I wanted to have the discussion with you and try to figure out where we can go with this.
Okay, thanks. Just so I'm clear, you mentioned the driveway and the front yard setback. I understand reasons of why you've placed both. Front yard setback we can talk about. Driveway, does that need zoning?
Yeah, as far as I read it, the driveway in the front yard, I believe, is a planning board, can be a planning board decision, almost a waiver, if you will, by the planning board. The the requirement for the 5 foot is actually within code, so I would say
I
that
gotcha,
that would
okay.
require variance, area variance.
And I think also on the front yard setback for the proposed home, the code says that, where you have existing homes that kind of deviate from that front yard setback that's required by code, a front yard shall be required in connection with any new building which shall conform as nearly as practicable to those existing on the adjacent lots.
Yeah.
So it's up to you guys as the planning board to figure out, are they conforming as nearly as practicable? And I think they've provided the reason why, the preservation of the
Yeah.
trees. So
Yeah.
if you find they're not conforming as nearly as practicable, they'd have to get a variance from that provision.
I see, I gotcha.
Right, and the row of housing along Liberty Street to the west is all very up close to the road.
Yeah.
And one of their other concerns when they did this layout was they live in a house that's very close to the road as it is as well, and they just don't like the idea of the traffic with
Sure.
that. To each his own, obviously, but.
Yeah.
So-
And they're looking to preserve those large evergreens.
Yes, that's the whole premise of why they wanted us to lay it out like they did.
And those large evergreens are in good health.
Yeah, they appear to be. I just looked at the street views. We did have, I did take, Clay from our office had taken a couple of pictures. Obviously, these aren't going to be super helpful in determining health, but kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at in terms of the size of these trees. There's some potting right there.
Yeah, those have been around a while.
They definitely have been around for a while.
Is there
and so-
any risk of excavation hurting root system beyond?
Yeah, so if, this is a kind of a hard picture to look at. Let me try to zoom in a little bit. This is looking to the west, and the chain link fence right there, that's where that driveway is. So you can
Yeah.
kind of see this, it was gravel at one point. It's basically dirt driveway now. They did talk about possibly paving that. I was expecting that these trees have obviously experienced this kind of loading for a while. The asphalt, I'm not sure if that would be something that would affect it more. Obviously, we wouldn't want to necessarily dig down to provide a normal base of a driveway. I'm assuming that there's a good enough base there now that we could just add on top of it if we needed to, but.
What about
So-
are you doing slab on grade or basement or crawl space?
That I don't believe has been determined. I would have to check in with them on that.
Yeah,
you are showing to be excavating between the trees. You have utilities for water and sewer.
Yeah, there is a sanitary line. We tried to split the trees with that. And then we ran the water service directly up the middle of the existing driveway, figuring that was going to be one of those points that was, the least impact to that root system. We know that root system is going to be, out there. The drip lines are pretty big.
Yeah.
Each of those spruce, when I showed you the very first picture, they're built into each other at this point. They've merged into.
Yep.
So their roots are. It looks like you want to say, but they're out there.
Yeah, I applaud the effort, definitely, to save the trees, and I think the reasoning makes sense, but they're going to really need to do some serious tree protection plan in order to get them to survive the construction activity. Just the machines, in and out of the site, the excavating for the foundation. So if they're asking for these kind of variances from code or standards, then in order to protect the trees, then they're really going to need to make a full effort through construction to protect the trees.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd hate to see, again, great idea, the trees are significant.
We would need to know, how close is the house to the canopy?
Wouldn't want to see the trees fail after an effort to, preserve them for the reasons you mentioned, and then through construction activities somehow kill them off.
It was part of the discussion.
Yeah.
You know, we raised the same concern.
It might be worthwhile to get an opinion from an arborist
Yep.
on what
Yep.
tree protection measures
Good idea.
would be appropriate here.
Yeah. Okay, let's go through comments from planner and engineer. We'll start with John. Yeah, just keeping you awake.
I thank you, John.
On your toes.
So I don't know if an I&I investigation was done.
Yeah, I can address that really quick. He just didn't put it into the report. He did put the note on the plan.
Yeah, there
We'll
was no
submit
report that's submitted, okay.
A formal report with the next submittal, absolutely. Yeah, and there was no illicit connections found.
Okay. On the existing conditions and removal plans, the utilities should be labeled out as to their respective size of pipe material. The inverts for the pipes entering and exiting sewer and storm structures should be provided on the plan. The information on the existing conditions and removal plan should also be shown on the subdivision plan. We've already discussed two of the comments with regards to positioning of the house and the driveway. The plan shall reflect the size of the pipe material for the proposed water and sewer utilities to service the proposed dwelling. It's recommended the proposed sidewalk be extended along the entire frontage of the proposed lot. And then one of the other things I noticed, Dan, is where you're proposing the new driveway.
Yeah, the curb inlet?
The curb inlet, yeah.
We would probably have to change that out to a flat grate. Yeah, we were thinking about that as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just happened to.
Flat grade, what does that mean?
So instead of
oh,
a
sorry.
curb piece on the back of the storm basin, it's just a flat grate. You don't have the curb piece anymore.
What?
So a yard basin, just a flat
This is why we need a workshop
flat grate.
done by the engineer.
No, does it matter? Yeah,
Bring
exactly.
pretty pictures. Hey.
All the big.
I don't have any pictures of it. I would have just shown you a
That's okay.
picture,
Don't worry
but
about
yeah.
it. I'll figure it out.
Oh, wait, hold on, there it is. We got it in the corner here.
Ah, okay.
So it's a way for when there's
Oh.
gutter flow along this.
I'll call those the things my daughters like to throw rocks down when they're little.
So you're the one I have to.
Yep.
They
that's
shouldn't
me.
do that. The
My
city
girls.
has to suck those out, you know. Part of that MS4 program.
For the MS4 regulations and DEC, yes.
Oh, so I can tell my daughters that's against the law?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well,
I don't know if that really falls as like an illicit discharge. I'm not sure, but
Hours of pleasure.
just rocks. Boop. They're kids. Come on.
Exactly. All right, thank you.
You're
Natalie?
For my comments, 1 and 2 are minor kind of cleanup things in terms of signatures and labeling. Comment 3 is, we've already talked about this in terms of the retention of the 3 spruce trees, which is, as the code says, removal of trees. This section limits the removal of trees except where it's necessary and incidental to the lot improvement. So I think that's what we're talking through here, and whether, based on the proposed lot improvements, these trees actually can be saved and then therefore warrant the setback issues. I guess the one new point I maybe wanted to bring up is that there is regulations within the subdivision section of the code, 195-24, that says the planning board can consider a common driveway where the arrangement would be feasible to reduce curb cuts and eliminate the need for the variance, that is the setback. This is somewhat similar to, I think we considered this
Roundabout.
and I can't remember if we actually went that route where we
We did.
ended up doing a shared driveway that then split in the back. So just wanted to put that as there is an option for the planning board to discuss that with the applicant if they are open to that, and whether or not that would fully address the variances that are needed or not. But the planning board is allowed to do that where it is more beneficial to the safety, welfare, and convenience of proposed users of the driveway and the people of the city in general. There is a school down the street, so in terms of walking and curb cuts, I think we've talked a number of times about curb cuts. The way these are set up, cars would be backing straight out of these driveways, right? Which isn't a unique circumstance necessarily on this block, but I think something worth considering in terms of what is the impacts of that on pedestrians walking down this.
They've got a beautiful sidewalk right across the street.
Okay, so you encourage them to cross the street. Where's the nearest crosswalk? We're talking
Yeah,
about
no, you-
students, right, and
Yeah.
kids here.
Yeah.
So
No, you make a good point.
maybe an area worth elevated consideration than we would normally give to that kind of thing. But like I said, if you look up and down the block, that short driveway where people just pull straight in and back straight out is a condition on this block, so keeping that in mind. And then I think we already talked about the front yard setback, where it's 28.6 feet, what being proposed, rather than the minimum of 10, or in addition to the minimum of 10. So it does align with the building kind of to the northeast, but it aligns with the side yard setback of that as opposed to the front yard setbacks of the building to kind of the south. So I think we've already discussed kind of whether that could be considered, or is it just the trees that are requiring that full setback? It's double what you're kind of seeing elsewhere on this block.
Fair, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on one of those. I think the shared driveway spec requires 16 foot, and if it does, this dimension from here to here would be the 16 feet now.
You're taking a tree down.
So we're definitely going to impact them. And if I tried to do the 16 on this driveway, it'll basically take you to the center of this tree.
Yeah.
So there's 15.94, so close.
Yeah,
From
no, my,
there to there.
my
So
first
I-
thought was that.
Well, it's
did
at
consider it
locations where
too, and-
individual driveways branch off of a common driveway. These driveways have to be a minimum of 10 feet in width. So if you were branching rather than doing, so I guess I need to get into the definition of what is a branch.
Yeah.
What is a branched common driveway versus a, whatever this alternative
Yeah,
is,
I wonder
right?
if that's one of those ones where it's the curb cut, but then your driveway goes this way, theirs goes that way,
Yeah,
right
it's
away.
basically the way we've treated it in the past. It's 16 feet, and then as your house comes up and your driveway veers off, that can go to 10, and if there's only one other house, it can reduce down to 10 from there.
Right. I'm sure I can try to look at that. I think we've tried to exhaust some of those thoughts already coming into this, because we
Well-
also did have some of those discussions internal.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate.
I appreciate all that.
Appreciate
yeah.
that, I appreciate Natalie's recommendation. What are your thoughts on that particular subject board?
It seems to me that we're prioritizing the trees, like maintaining the trees, and in that situation, it seems like two separate driveways are going to be better situated.
Yeah. You guys have
Yeah, I think there's a limited amount of options they have here.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like holding my thoughts until we, if we do get to hear from an arborist about the likelihood of being able to really save the trees with, like you said, equipment coming in and out to excavate for foundations or whatever, before we wrap ourselves around the axle with exotic
Yeah.
driveways, can we really save the trees realistically?
Can
Yeah, absolutely.
Can we retain an arborist?
You can, I think the applicant could provide those recommendations if you want an arborist to review those
Yeah,
recommendations.
let's start with the applicant and
Yeah.
see what we get. And then, question for you. It looks to me, I'm just confirming, I think I got this right, that the property to the north is the,
It's the townhouse.
that's the townhouse, right? So,
Yeah, northeast, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yep. That's Angela Court there?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, just thinking about construction equipment access, you would need to access the site technically unless you got permission by your neighbors within your property lines, right? And sort of
Yeah,
stay within your property lines?
The concept would be to not have to,
Yeah.
use somebody else's property, right? But,
Yeah, so the trees also pose a significant challenge to that, right?
They do, particularly, so we also have low wires here, so, there's lots of things to consider about how we're entering this site. Will we be putting together a foundation plan where we're going to have a concrete pump truck so that we don't actually have to have a concrete truck
Right.
with all that weight coming into the site, even if it's 15, 20 feet, This, I would say the property line is right around where the sign is.
Yeah.
And, you know, they've got some, I don't know if that's privet or whatnot, there's a lot of undergrowth with the big trees there. So we don't have a lot of flexibility there, admittedly.
Dan, can you go to the, turn it to the, which way is that? Towards Angela Court, towards the north.
Yep. That's Angelo there, that's the back side of the
I was just looking to
townhouse.
see where the next basin was, because that's kind of in line or just.
Yeah, this basin right here.
Right. Yeah, so the
That's
property
why I
line
thought
is
the
just
property line
south
was
of
right
the-
about where the school crossing sign is.
Does that, across the street, does that essentially get used as like a drop-off area? Where that,
Yes.
All this on-street parking right here.
Yeah.
A little bump out.
so that's just also, I just kind of ties into what we were saying before about the backing straight out.
And the
If you-
city did just install a crosswalk at Angela Court.
Yeah, it's probably not reflected here, yeah. This
Mm-hmm.
is August 2023, it says.
Right, that's just last year.
Oh,
Okay.
there's May 2025, there it is. Actually got new drop curb ramps and everything right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. What else, board? Sorry, and you had a request of us?
I think what the process would be is, you know, obviously we wanted to have the discussion with you. If it goes the way our client wants it to go, we'd have to go to the ZBA, and we would need a referral from you to go to the ZBA.
So remind me again so I think we can offer you kind of, I think it's the front yard, right?
Front yard.
Yeah,
Relief on that.
not the side yard.
The planning board can offer that relief, yes.
Yeah, but the side yard would still need a variance, yeah. okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, for the driveway.
the separation from the driveway to the property line is code. Was it
Yeah.
22316 or whatnot, right?
Yeah, so I think, so let's leave you at least with our disposition on the setback. I just, at least from my perspective, you know, this is, you know, obviously along a row of very similar buildings right up against the street, but
Yep.
in my mind, there are two mitigating factors in support of setting this back. One is the trees. The other is that this is at the terminus of that row. So it, you know, it sort of starts to form this kind of natural, you know, understandable rhythm with the setback. So I'm in support of it, and I'm in support of it mainly for the preservation of those trees. So that, again, the conversation of, with the addition of a specialist, the conversation of being able to save those trees is going to be super important to the setback, but as it stands now, I'm in support of the setback for those reasons.
Yeah, I don't have any concerns about the setback either.
Me either.
I agree.
So at least leaving here today, you're in good shape as far as how we feel about the setback. Granted, there's only 4 of us, so,
That's all you need for
That's all we need.
consensus.
well, it could change next month. depending
Somebody
on who's
could
here,
change their
so-
mind, I suppose.
Or somebody could change their mind. So with that, yeah, and again, I think trying to do gymnastics for a shared driveway around these trees, especially given what you mentioned about the sort of history of the tree roots with this pad, if you can build the driveway, again, without further disturbance of the root systems, that's my preference, and my preference is that it's done in the location that you placed it. So this board member is in support of how you've configured it, knowing that you need a variance and would be in support of that variance.
The only caveat that you brought up was that you're planning to excavate for a utility right down the center of that driveway, and you're going to also put another utility between the trees. So
Correct.
as you said, it's kind of like crush it, you know, get more info and you know, pray to be able to preserve it. But you even the effort to avoid creating a subbase for that driveway, you're still going to have to excavate down the middle of it, right, for that utility.
Right, yeah, that water service line So you're looking at a 2-foot wide trench through there. And then for the, same about for the sanitary sewer. So by the time you get that in there, could be something that we ask the arborist about, how the route would be affected. We could give them elevations on where we think that would need to be. Keep the house up as high as we possibly can to get our invert up as high as we can for the sanitary, because that's a gravity flow. And then the water, we need to have 5 foot for coverage, for freeze protection. So that's, could I maybe come up with something, some sort of insulation thing? Maybe, but what am I going to save? Maybe a foot? I don't know.
The
I'm just not
depth
sure.
is not such an issue, but could you bundle the 2 lines in one trench, or do they need to be separate?
No.
Code requires
that's an
10-foot
engineering
horizontal
no-no.
separation.
Yeah.
I mean, there's thousands of water and sewer connections that are in the same trench right around here. But, yes.
But they were put in when?
Yes, put in a long time ago, and
1913.
so, I mean, I don't know, I haven't heard a lot of people having issues, but that's probably some Orangeburg pipe in some of those and
Yeah,
things
all it
like
takes
that.
is one ruptured waistline and.
Yeah. No, I
To the
know,
races.
yeah, it's obviously public health and safety.
The discrete trenching is actually less of an issue than the compaction of the root zones
Okay.
and larger excavation areas typically.
Is it
And
like-
there are mitigation efforts like that the arborist can provide for a trench. So it's really more of the compaction of the root zone with construction equipment and, how much of the root zone is going to be impacted by the digging of the foundation.
And, we'll talk to them about the surfacing of the driveway as well and anything
Yeah,
like
you would
that.
definitely
I
want
mean,
something permeable. The new driveway, the root zone of the southernmost tree, that is more of an issue.
Yeah, and anytime we're going to do a new driveway like that, you may be looking at some, 6 to 9 inch section of excavation.
Yeah, that's a lot of excavation.
And normally like a little subgrade preparation, you want to try to tighten that up so you have a firm, stable area for your driveway. So that's something we're going to have to consider. Maybe they have, ways that they can provide us with some sort of a permanent matting where.
Right. There is
you know,
structural
we'll
soil,
look
I don't know
into
how
it.
much you can build up, but, there are structural soils also. It's just that you don't want to dig out the root zone.
What about a geogrid?
Sure, anytime you can use like a triax type grid, you can, it provides a lot of support so you can reduce your subbase layers in your section and still have a lot of support. I mean, we're not dealing with support for a fire truck here, this is just gonna be your standard passenger vehicle, so I think that's something we can all look into.
Okay. I mean, probably $100, $125 roll would cover the whole area.
Okay, so then what we have to do then is to send our observations, recommendations over to ZBA.
Yeah, to refer them to the
Make a
ZBA
referral.
for the driveway location variance for that setback for the driveway.
Okay, so motion to make a referral to the ZBA in support of variance.
Motion?
Motion by Kevin,
Seconded by Len.
second by Len, all in favor?
Aye.
So I guess our goal will be to submit, we'll have to figure out if we can get an arborist in time to
Yeah.
put those suggestions together and then get them onto the plan. I don't think timing is going to be very good on that, although we might have 9/16. We got 3 weeks this time, don't we?
June's a long month, yeah.
Yeah, so we actually have 5 Tuesdays this month, so that might actually
So you could
work.
consider scheduling a public hearing
Yeah.
for July.
Yeah, I'm not averse to that.
Yeah.
On Board, any objections?
No.
Yeah, so motion to schedule public hearing for this application for July.
Motion to schedule a public hearing for July for this application.
Motion by Len, second by Kevin, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Okay, thank you so much, appreciate it.
thank you. Okay, so that completes our regular agenda. we do have one request for a one-year extension of site plan approval, 536 Main Street, commercial 3-story. Who's that? Is that you?
We can present on it if you'd like.
This,
This is the infill building, Warp and Weft.
oh, the rug store.
The rug dealer.
Just asking me about that.
Well, that's been a long, slow crawl.
Yeah, they're going back. The basement was a big problem. So they looked at the cost of it, and it was prohibitive.
Meaning excavation?
Excavation, potential flooding, water, dam, everything. Just the millions of dollars, I think, was the
Wow.
reality.
All right, guys, thank you.
Yeah, so they've gone out to bid. They're going back out to bid with changes.
I see, okay.
Yeah. So they're still intent on building the project. That's not the issue. It's just a matter of, there's a change to the basement that reflected sort of
Changes
infeasibility.
rise to the plan, rise to the level of site plan?
In this new world, maybe. At this point.
Be careful.
Yes, we've advised accordingly.
Advise your client wisely.
We have.
Thank you. Okay, motion to approve one-year extension of site plan approval for 536 Main Street.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Len, second by Kevin, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Folks are asking about vegetation maintenance on the property.
Okay.
Just as a...
Want it cleared versus, because that's, Deborah Adams had been maintaining it at one point, but they want it cleared.
I don't know, there's something about those old overgrown,
cleared.
what are those things, heaven trees and all that? It just reminds me, it brings back old Beacon for me.
There was a lot of bamboo at one point. There's a lot of
Beacon is
bamboo.
gone forever, sadly.
No, there's this one lot that's overgrown and just brings back good memories.
Like you're nostalgic for the Lower East Side.
Yeah,
You can watch Nobody's Fool like I do when I get nostalgic.
Well, I haven't heard that feedback, but I'll let them know to please at least upkeep it beyond where they have. But they've traditionally been doing some maintenance of that lot, and Deborah's been the one handling it, but I'll let them know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have two certificates of appropriateness. First one, no idea where this is, Roundabout Avenue.
John, did you have a question?
Oh, yeah, hang on one second.
Give us 1 second, John. Feel free to lay your stuff out. Just don't present anything yet until John wraps up the sidebar.
Do you have a street number on Roundabout?
There's a site location map, Karen. Addresses. See this? This is that. These are those two lots that were behind the preschool meetings. It's like on Catherine Street, it's like a preschool. Yes. You remember these two on Roundabout?
We subdivided them and now we're building? Okay.
Well, you subdivided, there was one lot there already, and then you subdivided a lot more for the commercial.
Yes.
Lot.
So we've already addressed the site plan.
Yeah.
This is the, okay.
This is the building.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Cool.
Good. You know who your neighbors are, right?
You can't say it.
Does that mean welcome to the neighborhood?
Well, if you're moving in, sure. So you're building on which lot? You're building on the west lot or the east lot?
The west.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for the neighborhood photos. Could have picked a day when I'd actually mowed my lawn. But yeah, I think generally, let's just run through, the materials. Thanks for making these in.
For the piers and the...
Want to go from, yeah.
This is going to be the board and batten.
On the gable ends.
Yeah, the color is aged pewter. This is what would be the,
Okay.
this is actually a piece of soffit material, but because it couldn't get the siding, but it's going to be with the horizontal color, would be on the hardy, horizontal siding.
Right.
The stone is going to be on the front elevation, 30 inches, 36 inches, we're not quite sure yet with the grades and the stone samples there.
What's underneath the, so I understand the piers coming down to grade, but then between the piers, right, the stone looks like it's floating.
Okay.
I'm just trying to, so this here.
This is the ledger board.
It's trim.
And that's the trim pieces. And then,
And I'm just, the only reason I'm asking is usually you don't see stone like suspended above. Usually it's coming from the ground up to wherever it's, I'm not.
well, the stone is on the house.
Yeah, the stone, what you're,
Stone is on the house.
no, that's,
yeah.
that's going to be open beneath the trim, I'm assuming?
Okay, yeah, is that?
Yes.
Okay, so this is great. I'm seeing the house behind the.
Correct.
The piers.
The piers are stone.
Yeah.
But this stone is
right
It's against the house, past the porch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Actually, thank you.
And do you need a railing there, like by code?
If it's over 30 inches, we're going to be putting railings, I believe, at this point, but the code is 30 inches.
30, yeah, it's 30.
So anything under 30 inches does not require.
Right, I just didn't look at the numbers.
So you're below, you only have 3 steps, so you're below 30.
Yes.
The top story, the attic area, that's obviously uninhabitable.
Yes.
But you give any thought, especially on the street side, to some kind of either vent element or some kind of other treatment there to kind of, and I mean, the rear elevation is not necessarily seen by anyone but neighbors, but, you know, these are big expanses that are just large blank spaces.
I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Yeah.
A small attic like that.
A window?
Yeah. Yeah, I think at least in the smaller gable.
The front.
What do you think, Kevin?
Breaking up that gable, it's a big expanse, and it's
Yeah.
normal to have ventilation on that vertical face. That's
Yeah.
something that you actually, as a practical matter.
Yeah, I would, you know, again, as long as it's scaled properly for that space, but it's going to start to just kind of lighten, especially because you're cladding that in a dark material. It feels very heavy.
Yes.
Yeah.
No problem. Roof.
Yep.
Can I make a couple comments on the way the roofing is set up in the porch? One of my and I commented, you remember the house that burnt down and they put in they finished it, this Italianate, one comment I had about.
One across from George?
Yeah, and this,
Yep.
yes, and this is in other developments like Townsend. The porch here, you'll notice that you're terminating it right at the exact edge of the siding, right? You see how that is? It's plumb. There's a straight line. Now, if you look at traditional porches, they're almost never done that way. They either extend out, right? Because construction-wise, it's actually more difficult to do what you're showing than it is to extend it out or pull it in, right? So if you pull it in, you'd have a trim piece or something on the edge that would go up to 2 stories, and it would define that edge, right? Well, my point is, yeah.
What would your suggestion, 4 inches, 6 inches, 8 inches?
It's got to be enough to make it so it looks like.
So a corner.
Yeah, it could be a little bit more than the trim, right?
You're saying pull it in off the edge?
Well, there's 2 ways to do it. One of them is to pull it in, the other one is to pull it out, but
Pull
then
it
you
out,
have
you
to
gotta wrap
return
it.
it, and it's a little bit more carpentry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm more in favor of pulling it in, and I think it would just subtly help the aesthetic. I agree with you, Kevin, if you're willing to entertain that. Yeah.
The trim element, I think, is 4 or 5 inches, so we'll pull it in 7 or 8 inches on each side.
I think it'll look better.
Yeah.
And it adds a little, you know, a variation.
8 inches.
Yeah, that may mean you need to scoot your columns in just slightly too, to kind of maintain that relationship of the column edge to the roof edge, but yeah, I think that'll help. Yeah, I mean, overall, it looks nice.
When we're on the roofs, this is the color of the eyebrow roof up on the gables and the front porch.
And that's aluminum?
The steel.
It's
metal
steel.
roof, the metal roof,
Yeah.
yes.
So is it a flat seam or standing seam?
It says standing seam metal roof.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're marrying, you're coupling, or you're
Yes.
doing that as well?
Yes.
Yeah. And then you're doing black trim around windows? Is that what that's what your
The
elevation
windows are
shows?
trim, but the windows are black, but the trim is shown as white.
Yeah, I'm sorry, window frames.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
the front
Window frames
windows.
will be black.
Yeah.
I believe that's what was on the application, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And then,
Windows,
yes,
yeah,
the
black.
wood trim around the windows is white.
White.
Yeah, but it's not trimmed in the back. That's whatever.
Oh, right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's no window trim in the back of the house?
Which
or-
actually,
or
as
maybe
a
it's just-
practical matter, I think if depending on the siding you're using, it makes sense to use trim because it'll help shed water. And there are other reasons why you want to terminate your siding, right?
You know this guy builds buildings.
No, but you're a carpenter, right? You've done siding before. Do you know how tough it is to terminate, the windowsill is back. You have to turn the corner on that siding, right?
You want to trim the windows on the back of the house.
I think so.
I think that's what they say.
But if you're doing it on the back.
I think the side also.
The whole house. Make it consistent, because you see the house as a whole thing.
Yeah. Window trim.
Yep. And I use that, the practical part about water shedding and trim details, because that's what's the most common detail you see, and it just feels more normal. It feels more regular to have something that's built as if it was with traditional materials.
Can we talk a little bit about the consistency of the window sizes? So, my sense is that like for example, this elevation we're looking at here, the smaller window on the upper story is, I'm assuming that's in the bathroom. That's why it's smaller.
Yes.
It is. Yeah. I could have looked at it myself, but thanks. You know, I remember going to great pains when I designed my addition to make sure that all the windows were consistently sized, including in the bathroom, my master bathroom. If you're at all able, in fact, yeah, if you're at all able to, it doesn't look like there's anything constraining you from making the bathroom window the same size.
Same size.
Same size, yeah.
Yeah, and then the one on the first floor.
Same, I'm just, there's just, if you can get consistency of window, not necessarily width, but, so a single window should be consistent in terms of height and width. And then when you have the double windows, I'm curious on the lower floor in that little built bump out. Again, there may be a functional reason why it's higher than, the sill is higher than the others, than this one. But I just visually, I'm just curious, this is an awkward proportion. These guys, is there any reason why it can't be as deep as this one? That's here. Yeah, it's the dining area. Actually, it looks, well, it's,
different size.
I think that the answer to that question is that the interior designer that I've been using in the last couple houses I did said, you're not up high enough, you can't get a piece of furniture
Underneath it.
I know.
Because they want to hutch or something in the dining room or a
Yes, and that
sideboard.
was the reason for raising that up.
That's why you need architects to work with the interior people.
That's understandable.
Well,
'Cause you
I'll
don't
put
have-
it this way,
You
too.
don't have a ton of walls to put a sideboard or a hutch
well,
on the table.
I've done the same thing in my
Door-
house.
door openings.
I have furniture that runs across the front of the window. It's just part of the nature of. Well, I am a designer, and it's fine with me. I guess that one is not as egregious. But the little tiny weeny, teeny weeny one, what is that?
In the back bathroom? That's in the back bathroom.
That's on the front, that's
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the restroom.
That's why.
Yeah,
I mean,
again,
you're gonna put a shade on it anyway, so you might as well make it a big window and put a shade on it.
yeah, that's my feeling. You'll get more light. It'll serve the purpose of bringing light in. And it'll just maintain more consistency across that elevation.
Do you think we should require the plans, at least schematic plans, included with these ARB reviews? Because a lot of the windows, you can tell, oh, that's why that's there.
They are, they're in the package.
I don't see the
I don't see it. I think it's just elevations.
No, that's all the plans.
Is it another sheet?
Oh, here, plans.
Okay.
Add a window on the front gable.
Plans.
Pull the porch roof in 8 inches on each side. We're going to trim all the windows on the house.
Yes, please.
We're going to make the windows the same as much as we can, with the exception of
The dining room.
the dining room.
Yeah, all right, I'll let that one go.
Yeah.
Are you capturing these, Mercedes?
I'm trying to.
Yeah, because we've been really hard asses with people lately. I don't know if you were in the meeting earlier.
All right, what about the other side of the house? These weird
Yeah, it's the
windows.
side I've got to look at. we haven't
What's
gotten to that
happening on
yet.
this side? Let's see. So we have, all right, one's at the kitchen, so that's higher. That's at the sink. And then one's in the laundry room.
Better?
Oh.
Better?
Okay.
It's okay, my hourly rate's reasonable. Let's look at, where is that elevation?
I don't know what happened to my screen.
Can I ask what size trim around the windows and like corner and things along those lines?
On the outside,
Yeah,
it's 4 inch. On the Hardy?
yeah.
Yes.
And your corners also?
Yes.
Okay, and your post? Front porch post?
We need more dimensions on elevations. these
Yeah, I
days,
just don't wanna
Gary.
get into
It's
guessing.
a whole new world.
Like you have it, your freeze board spelled out 8 inches, but then they stop there.
So let's
That's why, if
just-
you're gonna say that they're 4 inches, that's why we can,
4x4s, I can tell you that.
you know, I just,
They're
to me, it looks like it's gonna be, you
They're
know,
going to be 6 by or 8 by.
okay. I just don't know how, if I think 6 by and you guys think 8 by.
Wrap them, they turn into 8 by. If we use 6 by 6.
So let's just make sure we capture, so you've noted that window trim is 4 inches.
Yep, and corners are 4.
Corner trim is 4. Sorry? Yep. We'll go with your page.
Window trim, 4 inches. Continue.
Corner trim is 4.
Column width and depth, 8, you said? Gary?
Finish 8.
Finished 8.
Yes. If it's 6 by 6, we're
Yep.
happy.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, column width and depth.
8 inch, 8 by 8 is the column.
Thank you.
Finish.
Finished dimension.
Finish dimension, thank you.
So this facade,
We talk about the mullion-less windows. Those are intended to be picture, sort of, there's 2 of them. One's in the front.
Right, one is in the staircase on the side, the one on
This
the
is the
side.
landing.
Is the, this one you're talking about?
Yeah, and then
That's
there's,
a staircase?
the one in the front is in the closet in the upstairs
Yes,
bedroom, right?
correct.
That's a,
And I was talking to Tim this morning about that, and said, should we put a grill in there to match the rest of the windows? I'm not opposed to it.
not only that, but it's a closet, right? Does it need to be a picture window in a closet? I mean, I think you could proportion it in more in the family resemblance of the rest of the windows.
Yeah, unless they have a really strong preference on that front window in the closet, I would just
Make
go
it
to a
singles.
standard single double hung.
If you matched the proportions of the one of the 3 adjacent to it,
Yeah.
it would just look
Exactly.
very natural, right?
Yeah, does that make sense, Gary?
Yep. Single double.
Yeah, and it's same width and height as the
I have a
cluster.
note on there for all the windows to be the same.
Yeah, okay.
So
Well,
this.
sorry, just a
Oh,
quick
this-
nuance, Gary. These ones, this cluster here, these are actually different from the ones we were talking about downstairs. So what I would do is I would take this window and make it one of these.
Yeah.
Same size and, yeah, double, okay. And then, I get it, the picture window on the side, you know, you might actually get a glimpse of the mountain as you're walking up the stairs.
And this is,
That's kitchen.
that's a kitchen and that's a laundry room, so.
Right. And if you have like one feature window that's like it's not that featurey, you know?
Yeah,
But
it's fine.
that's an accent, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to like two, it's like a mistake if you do it twice. If it's once, it's a feature.
It'll definitely be better with a double hung above the front door that's
Yeah.
the size of the.
Yeah, and I can live with the, and Gary, not to get too nitpicky, but the one facing east, the one facing the mountain, just go, if you're gonna kind of put that modern kind of twist on things, just go full square. What do you think?
Yeah, then it's a feature, right?
Yeah.
It is a unique,
It's just boom.
I mean, it's not like boom, it's like boom, you know, it's like, it's a small boom.
Okay. See how much fun we have?
Yeah.
Thanks for making this so much fun,
Yeah.
Gary.
And in fact, you know, people pay for these services, you know.
They
I
do.
think it's pretty good.
You're getting really great, you're getting a,
Yeah.
what is this, about
You're gonna get thousands more for your home from
120
these
years of
changes.
design expertise.
I don't want to say, I'm going to pretend I.
Okay, I think, so have you? Yes, please, let's do that.
So window trim 4 inches on all windows?
Correct.
Entire house, correct? Corner trim is 4 inches, the column width and depth is an 8 by 8 finish dimension. I heard something about double hung window. On all the windows are double?
No,
No.
the picture window over the front door is changed to a single double hung window. And then the window at the stair landing will be square.
So Gary, this is all in an
And then-
effort to help my comps, okay?
Windows, wait, let me see which,
And we're adding a window to the front gable?
yes,
Is that what I heard?
That's right.
yes, small window.
Or it could be a vent too, right?
Pull in the porch roof,
Make it a window.
Yes.
okay? And the windows
It is
will be
better, yeah.
consistent in terms of what?
On the left side elevation, the windows in the bathrooms will be consistent with the other single double hung windows on that elevation.
Well said.
Multiple bathrooms or one bathroom?
Two,
So
upper and
windows
lower.
bathrooms will be, I'm so sorry, can you repeat that?
So what do you want to do with these?
Will
Make them-
match
Make them just.
the
double,
single
same size?
double hung windows on that facade.
And safe, okay, boom.
Safe.
All right.
Thank you,
Okay.
Gary.
Thank
Just
you.
So you know, my biggest pet peeve are windows that are not consistent. One of them, in
I
addition
just-
to chain link fence. I have
That can't
many.
be the biggest one.
Well, that's fair. I have many. Chain link fence is on the top of the list.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Gary. Okay, so, the application as amended, as recorded, motion to approve.
Motion.
Motion by Len,
Second?
second by Kevin, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Gary.
Okay.
When are you gonna start building?
Hopefully next month.
Okay, keep it down, okay?
No 7 a.m.
Quiet.
starts, all right?
Okay,
I left the paper there with the colors for you. So you
yes, thank you. Next item is, last item, certificate of appropriateness, Monell Place, new single-family house. Hi.
Got it up on the screen.
If you do have something significant to say, just grab the mic. We just want to make sure we capture it on. He gets irritated, and he'll come after
I want you
us.
to grab any of the mics.
And if you thought I was angry before, just don't.
Probably enjoyed that.
Okay, let's see, what do we got here?
It was definitely,
Yeah, yeah.
this will be a beautiful view.
Oh my goodness, that is,
Okay, what's the roof?
that is a buildable lot. I didn't know.
Painted pine board and butter wrap.
Oh, sorry.
Is Arctic
Thank
white
you.
this color of the standing seam metal roof? Okay.
That's okay.
We could do a little karaoke.
Oh, God.
Okay, and then what are these two?
This is painted board and batten is the butter up. And this is the trim.
Where is this?
Way at the end of Monell Place.
Out by 84 and overlooking the river.
It's
the last piece of land.
Wow, this is popular.
And the timber framing, do we have that indicated? Is it just natural something?
The wood?
The porch columns.
These guys, you mean? Hang on.
Yeah, we just need to indicate what those lines are.
Is it like
These guys.
natural finish?
Yeah,
on the
it's just
timbers, or
gonna
is it-
be natural finish timbers.
Okay.
Just, yeah.
Okay, so one thing at a time.
Okay.
So the exposed wood timbers, are they going to, so you said painted, you
Paint.
said natural. Which is it?
It could be either one.
Whatever you say.
Whatever you prefer. I mean, we're not difficult. Whatever it needs to be. Whatever it needs to be.
Okay, well, settle in then.
Okay. Maybe painted. What do you prefer?
Who designed this?
Well, Erica and I kind of designed it, and then we kind of.
Is he working in Newburgh now?
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
fifth, yeah, he's fifth, is it Fifth
He's
Street
fifth?
or
Oh,
Fifth
really?
floor?
Okay.
Fifth Street architect.
Fifth Street architect.
I didn't realize that.
He lives here in Beacon, though.
No, I know, I used to work with Chris, yeah.
Oh, okay,
He's a good guy.
yeah.
So we had about 4 or 5 different plans here. This started out as we bought this land just to have a pool, and then it was going to be a small pool house, and then it was going to be a big house until we found out how much it cost to build.
Big houses cost a lot of money.
And then we went down to this little house.
Okay.
We just need a little just a little out of town, out of the city house.
What
'cause we live-
more details do you need
Hang
on
on,
the?
hang on, we didn't finish.
Yeah.
What would you prefer to see these? Wood, natural finish, stained wood, or painted?
On the beams that are in the gable end, they open.
That was an element that he added. I had never even considered it, really.
Yeah, this whole,
Yeah.
it's a neat structure.
So that's above the porch.
It looks like it's an open porch, and it's
Yeah, it would
a,
look really cool.
I think if you did it natural, not stained, but treated, finished
Protected from.
Yeah.
pine,
Cedar.
cedar,
Cedar.
or something,
Maybe
I
we'll
don't
just
know.
get some cedar
Should we
cut.
take notes?
Oh, that's okay, I got it right here. And plus,
When she's
Mercedes is
recording.
gonna do it, yeah.
So, Mercedes, the exposed framing at porch,
The west elevation, let's say?
Yeah.
Exposed framing at porch?
yes, will be
Natural wood.
natural wood. Yeah, and just get a species that's not pine.
Yeah,
Get a
I
species
think
that's going to hold up.
I think species, I think cedar would be fine.
Cedar
Yeah.
would probably hold up.
The same thing for the columns.
Yeah.
The cedar, most appropriate outdoor condition.
Natural
Columns,
cedar?
posts, yeah.
You would have to spend a little bit of time just to make sure that is it natural cedar that's gonna weather and turn gray and that sort of thing? Or
I'd
is it
probably
like
put
stained?
maybe tung oil finish, tung oil
Right, 'cause there's-
preservative or something like that to keep the water off of them, because the cedar is
Also,
as great as it is, it still will rot.
Putting a finish on it will even out the color if there's
Yeah.
natural variation, so there's that. Sometimes you do want to put a light stain on it, transparency.
My son is an expert in wood and finishes, and he'll recommend whatever we had decided to do.
That's the sort of thing that you would actually, that's so determinative of the thing. You'd almost want to have have your son do a sample, bring it in. It's like, this is how we're going to match it, but, okay, I get it.
I mean, it's going to be sealed in some way, shape, or form in order
Okay.
to protect it from
Right.
getting weather, because
Let's call it
that'll be on the western side, so.
Call it cedar.
Cedar's good.
Okay.
Okay, what else? Brian had questions, that's right.
Yeah, we need dimensions.
looking for dimensions, that's all, just, columns, things like that.
Sizing.
Well, the columns for, it's going to be a screened-in porch, so it'll be probably 6, I would think 6 inch, if it's going to be solid cedar as opposed to something wrapped. Originally, I think we had thought that maybe there would just be more traditional pressure-treated 4x4 wrapped with because there's really
No, I don't.
No.
I don't think you're gonna hold that up.
Yeah.
Okay.
No Home
I'm
Depot
not
special,
I'm not
please.
a builder.
In fact, I think you're not allowed to use, structurally, I don't think you're allowed to use 4x4s if it's holding up the roof.
Okay.
I think you have to use a
I-
6x6.
I'm not a builder. Whoever the builder would recommend to do
So
it.
6x6 or greater.
Okay.
8 by 8? Yeah, I mean, I think 6x6 or greater, and I think if there is a preference, let's state it 8 by 8.
Okay.
So 8 by 8.
Yeah.
That's fine with me.
8 by 8. Mercedes, thank you.
And then window trim.
It looks very small in the drawing.
It does. It doesn't look out
Which
of
is fine,
proportion.
right? No, it doesn't. It just needs a size.
Yeah.
What do we have in our windows? Probably 5 inches, something like that, 4.5 inches?
Yeah, I would say go to
5 inches or 5?
5 might be a little chonky for this
Okay.
house. So 4.
Okay.
I actually thought 4 was a little too diminutive for the other house, but
Okay.
y'all were talking.
4-inch trim.
4-inch trim.
At windows, all windows and doors.
All windows and doors, 4-inch trim.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna get a little picky here.
Here.
And I don't know if you know the answer to this, but
Okay.
why in tarnation don't these all line up? The tops.
This is a shower,
Okay.
and so I think we have.
Okay.
There's a shower.
Do these line up? These two?
No, I don't think so.
With a door in the window?
This and this.
Yeah, it seems to, right?
No, it doesn't look it. Maybe it does. Right, here we go.
Yeah.
Looks like it does.
Yeah,
They do.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
All right. I guess I can live with it.
Okay.
I like a fun shower.
It's a fun shower.
And why does this one deviate? And in fact, this one does not line up.
What is that?
This is the back, this is the back. So this is the other corner of the shower. This is over the sink, and this is the bedroom. So it's, yeah.
B
I mean-
is the shower. Okay.
Yeah, B is the shower.
I like a lot of windows.
Yeah.
It looks a little.
Well,
Yeah,
nobody's going to see that from the street anyway. I mean, it's basically.
Yeah.
Well,
No one's
basically.
going driving by.
No one's driving by.
Yeah, we're like trolls under the bridge down there.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
we still
look,
want to be in compliance.
Yeah.
I get
You know,
it.
but-
There's things that sort of go against my design sensibilities here, but I'm not.
Yeah.
We're not
looking
as
at this.
fancy as you, or probably.
I had no idea I was fancy at all. but-
But you guys know good stuff when you see it.
Yeah, but-
Yeah, we are, I am a student of, and a follower of philosophy of American arts and crafts movement, because, so I know proportion, and I can't stand things that are out of proportion. So if there's any deviation here, it'll be, what do you call it, a field change or something like that? It'll be 4
God,
inches,
don't mention that.
2 inches or something.
Oh, my God.
To make it, whatever, I have no idea.
You'll make me
I'm
start-
just saying. Okay.
You make me start yelling again.
No, well, I'm sure there won't be any
Look,
field
you're-
changes.
It's fine.
You're in a place where I don't have to look at it.
You're never going to see it. That's exactly right.
I'm just very happy
And
for
plus,
you.
Erica Erica wants a lot of trees and stuff, you'll never see it.
Okay, so we have some notes.
Yes. Okay, so this is what I have. Natural, not stained.
Thank you.
The siding?
No,
Cedar.
cedar.
It wouldn't be bare, it wouldn't be raw, I don't think. It would have
Did you
just
say
sealant.
just say cedar?
Did you say siding, or we were talking about the beams, right?
Exposed
Oh,
framing
the
at
beams are
porch
cedar.
with all natural wood and columns.
Yep.
Okay. And then we have 6x6, well, actually 8x8 is preferred for the columns.
Yeah.
Finished, right?
And window trims need to be 4 inches on all windows and doors.
Yes.
That's what I have.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Good to go.
So,
And just to be clear, the cedar is for the entire house? or-
no.
No, it's just for those beams that are, see,
I wasn't clear, sorry.
Mercedes, if you would just read that one more time, because I think, sorry.
Cedar, exposed framing at porch, will be natural wood, and columns also.
Yeah,
And then 8x8,
finished,
for the columns.
yeah, yep.
It's preferred. Window trim needs to be 4 inches on all windows and doors.
Thanks.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the colors, hyacinth and butter up. Fine.
Who comes up with those names? That's going to be my next job.
Sherwin Williams is good paint,
Yeah,
but, yeah, very light. Yellow is a happy color.
it is.
It is.
Now, if
We're
you,
probably the only people building a small
Yeah.
shack that's not modern and Beacon right now.
It's not
so-
gray.
Yeah, how come no black window
Gray and
trim, or
black.
you sure don't want to do the whole house charcoal or something?
We came up in Vermont on Lake Robinson, and it's bright yellow and red trim. And the people on the boat, they call it.
The ketchup and mustard house.
nice.
Nice.
Yeah, one thing about that color is that there was a guy named Alexander, A.J. Downing, who was a very famous, and his aesthetics was he wanted every person who was building a house in the country, if it was, imagining this was all built like the English countryside, that used fawn, because pure white was garish and stood out too much. And that, like, that sort of tan color, he was like, everybody should use that. That should be the default color that's chosen. And it's very similar to that.
My parents
If you
live in a
wanna
yellow
feel-
house.
Okay. I painted one of my houses almost
Did we
the
do a
exact same
motion?
color. We did not. So, with notes as recorded, I'll accept a motion to approve the application.
Motion from Len.
Second, from Kevin.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wow. Thank you. Have a good night, guys. Okay.
Ends with a bang.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Len.
Second.
Second by Kevin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, my.
If they don't have those gables on that list for that building, I mean, not gables, corbels, on that 364 Main Street, I'm going to blow a gasket.
Yeah, let's just keep yelling at them.
And what are we going to do about